Sasori's experienced eyes could only distinguish a vague black and white blur, taking advantage of the opening as Orochimaru bisected Alpha's torso horizontally at blinding speed, with his bare hands. The combination of speed and power was impressive and proven just as effective as the tyrant's upper body fell on the ground. It was a fortune to most that the more malevolent snake Sannin never discovered, or at least achieved sage mode. A second later, unfortunately, 2 limbs had grown from the downed body, and the mad dictator rose to her feet, seething with rage. No words were spoken, however, as she moved on to attack Sasori up close. A wise strategy, as defeating the puppeteer would end the threat of the other's puppets. She still has enough control over herself to fight tactically, the redhead thought, sending his 2 taijutsu expert puppets to intercept her. A barrier of purple light shielded her from their fists, and although they managed to shatter it, both puppets were massacred by Alpha's vicious claws in the process. She obviously didn't have a vast array of ninjutsu besides shielding techniques, fitting her role would be as protector. With the 10 Tails power backing her up, however, her lack of skill was balanced by her colossal strength. White Snake sprung from the ground to chain her up, restraining Alpha's movements with intense difficulty as her strength easily dwarfed their own to the point that many of them were already being torn apart in her efforts to free herself. Exploiting the opportunity, Sasori sent his sword-wielding puppet to attack once more, backed up by Orochimaru, who had released the kusanagi from his mouth and seized it with his right hand. The duo proceeded to decapitate the fake demon vessel with a combined move, propelling the head 10 meters above them. A string of chakra sprung from the head and united it with the rest of the body once again. "Kill you," Alpha cursed, losing her mind to the power flooding her being. "Kill you, kill you, kill you." With a roar, Alpha unleashed a shockwave strong enough to free herself from the snakes and force her attackers to back down. The embodiment of the 10 Tails had dozens of mouths opening all over her skin, each firing a beam of chakra in all directions. Tails formed out of her tailbone, which her opponent took as a bad omen. The woman was pumping more chakra to balance her lack of skill, and it had a nasty effect on her psyche. Sasori struggled to avoid them, activating his artificial wings to dodge. Orochimaru's supernatural agility saved his life, whereas the puppets, lacking speed and their puppeteer's full focus, were quickly destroyed one by one. The last remaining dummy managed to save itself by hiding behind rocks and debris, clearly outmatched. If this continues, our defeat is assured, Sasori thought. I expected her to be dangerous, but the 10 Tails power is unlike anything I have ever seen. Puppets were made to face ninjas and skilled humans, not walking forces of nature. Alpha didn't need skill to win. Her brute strength was enough to overcome most obstacles. At blinding speed, a chakra arm caught the redhead's legs and whipped him against the ceiling hard enough to embed him in it. Quickly regaining his bearings, the puppeteer watched as a roaring Alpha jumped toward him, claws ready. In a blink, Sasori shot her back with a jet stream of water from his right arm that pinned her beneath him, launched himself from the ceiling while holding her down, reached her, put his left hand over her face, and activated his flamethrower. The dictator roared in pain, her demonic visage being burned into ashes. In the meantime, Sasori activated Chikamatsu's final puppet and opened its mouth, releasing an orb. The projectile grew into a man-sized lion head, with jaws wide open. It pinned Alpha to the ground, a seal expanding over her body. Sealing technique. Lion closing roar, Sasori whispered to himself while backing up as the jutsu started neutralizing Alpha's Tenkinsu. Or would have, if the woman hadn't been so resilient. She started breaking out of the lion's fangs, pointed a finger at Sasori, and unleashed a beam of light from it. The redhead blinked, unable to dodge at such a short distance. So it should be expected that when a wall formed out of the soil just in the nick of time, shielding him from the blast, it surprised the man greatly. Seconds later, the terrain itself started moving, animated by senjutsu. The earth restrained Alpha's arm, and then the rest of her limbs. Sage art. Inorganic reincarnation, smirked Orochimaru as he landed next to Sasori. You insane filth. Alpha cursed. How dare you infect this heaven and ravage it? Everything I did for mankind. We clones are the solution to your problems. So why fight us? Why destroy this utopia? Because you've done too much damage and need to be put down. Orochimaru's words were flat and unemotional. Nobody wants your utopia. It's not worth the cost. Alpha, it's still time to stop this madness. The dictator laughed insanely, breaking down before her defeat. Or perhaps the Ten Tails chakra was messing with her mind. You cannot understand what we feel. What we clones feel at being nothing but copies. Alpha tried to free herself, but the seal unraveled her chakra system, and the Ten Tails power started to leave her bones. The ground swallowed her limbs, burying her alive. We are nothing. We have no future, so I thought we could do something good and meaningful before we ended. I thought we could offer others a bright future. So many of us have nothing to live for, I had to give them hope and purpose. You think I didn't care about those who sacrificed their lives for this place? If I stop, they would have died for nothing, you hear me? I will not allow this. Her chakra reserves skyrocketed. Sasori, whose skills as censor were minimal, could easily feel the depth of oppressive power Alpha was calling upon. Her tenketsu reopened, the seal started to unravel, and the ground melted. The puppeteer and Orochimaru wisely retreated quickly as a surge of chakra vaporized Alpha's surroundings. Among smoke and dust, a humanoid figure rose. The duo put itself on guard, ready to strike. Surprisingly, the clone did not radiate any killing intent, nor hostility. At last, I have taken over. I thought she would never use enough chakra. The voice wasn't Alpha's. It was cold, unfeeling, inhuman. The sound was a whisper, a deadly unnatural noise that pierced the ears and minds alike. I have returned. The possessed Alpha cracked her neck in delight. This body is too small, too weak, too feeble, but mine nonetheless. The process lasted seconds, but the mere sight of it was sickening. The creature multiplied in size, a bulb grew out of its back, one massive purple eye formed on the head, shining with malevolence. The legs became slender, inhumanly so, ending with claws. 10 tails grew out of the back, with hands at their ends. The body was covered with skinless gray flesh that did nothing to hide the bones. The creature was a pure nightmare, and easily towered over the entire landscape, a twisted parody of a humanoid. For the first time in his life, Sasori briefly felt genuine dread. The creature was wrong, abominable. Primal instincts he thought overcome decades ago resurfaced suddenly. Fear, Sasori thought upon recognizing the emotion. I feel fear. This vessel is weak, but suitable to carry on my mission. The creature's lone eye stared down at the two ninjas. It appears you are to thank for my release. You have my deepest gratitude. At that point, Sasori and Orochimaru were too frightened to muster a reply. Do not despair, sons of man. You face daughter of the ten-tailed, the one-eyed Kami, the giant deity, the dark progenitor. The hands like tails swirled. I usher the birth of a new world, devoid of imperfection, as Kami of the stars commands. Those deemed worthy will be purged of all weaknesses. The unworthy shall be granted the gift of oblivion. A new world shall rise from the ashes of the old, and order shall be enforced over the chaos of existence. The Kusanagi hit its eye, although the blade didn't pierce it. Sasori finally snapped from his terror and stared, amazed, at Orochimaru. The Sannin cursed as his sword retracted. In the puppeteer's opinion, it was the thought that mattered. Sadly, the Ten Tails was far from amused. If you prefer oblivion over survival, I shall grant this wish. Vanish.
N.
The monster's eye shined brightly, and Sasori's world was swallowed by purple light.
Haku.
It became quickly clear Haku wasn't going to hold her ground for long. Lightning chakra races through my brain and nerves, allowing for faster information analysis and reaction time than should be physically possible for a human, 5 explained, easily dodging Haku's Senbon and replying with bolts of white chakra. The mirrors allowed the young ice woman to travel at superior speed, and she avoided the attacks. I can easily determine your movements and adapt. Haku pondered about a solution. At this rate, ninjutsu was her only option. Unfortunately, it involved deadly force, and some part of her didn't want to kill the troubled, lonely clone. In a flash, 5 smashed her torso in midair hard enough to break past her armor of ice, his palm reaching her chest. The next second, he kicked her with enough power to hammer her against a mirror. Haku regained enough momentum to dodge a new punch. She was silently glad that she managed to escape the attack as she watched the clone's arm went past the dome of ice. Taking advantage of the opening, the former Kiri Nin turned the mirror's ice into kunai and threw dozens of them at her opponent. Freeing his arm, 5 groaned as a few projectiles pierced his flesh. Moving incredibly quickly, he deflected or avoided the following strikes, closing the gap between him and his opponent. Chidori! 5 shouted, a sphere of thunder gathering between his fingers as he struck forward. The lethal blow missed. Haku, exploiting her superior agility, managed to deflect the clone's arm in another direction. The Chidori shattered an icy wall, the dome crumbling on itself in the process. Faster than the eyes could follow, 5 moved at a new level of speed and caught Haku's neck, lifted her, and smashed her back against the cracking ice. The ice woman was brutally thrown past the artificial arena, but managed to roughly land on her feet regardless. In the background, fire met water and rocks, Kubaiko and Omoikane trapped in a deadly battle with the other clone commander, who was ruthlessly unleashing seas of fire upon their heads. A roar snapped her out of her thoughts. A bolt of lightning almost fried her had her reflexes not kicked in at the last instant. 5 ran faster than the wind and engaged her in taijutsu, putting Haku in a difficult situation. Sinbon won't get past my thick charred skin, the clone taunted her, his blows heavier than cannonballs. My punches, however, will get past your bones in no time. The missing Nin was a distance fighter, and keeping her ground at the moment was a feat in itself. A roundhouse kick put an end to the trashing, sending Haku crashing to the ground. 5's hands grabbed her back and lifted her above his head. I broke the mind, he whispered, preparing his execution. And now I'll break the back. A projectile hit his skull and came out from the opposite end, drawing blood. Releasing his grip, he fell to his back, leaving Haku to land on her feet and take a few steps backward. She stared in the projectile's direction. I broke the guy, and I broke the brain. Chibaku joked darkly, wielding an iron rod. At his sides, 2 of the clones were laying on the ground, knocked out. You're alright, Haku. Did you kill? A bolt of lightning blew up the musket into pieces. That, 5 rose up, blood all over his mask. He cracked his neck. Unpleasant. Oh, great, another new toy blown up. This is really starting to get repetitive. Chibaku summoned chakra strings, which promptly wrapped around the enraged 5 to restrain him. The clone snarled and grabbed them, spun on himself, and sent the puppeteer crashing into Haku's chest. 2-on-1 seemed to be good odds, Chibaku whined, as red chakra covered his body. Both he and Haku stood up, the ice woman producing a short blade of ice. Wait, you know Kenjutsu? Zabuza-sama taught me as much as he could, but I never got past the basics, she replied softly, hoping the length would give her an advantage over the unarmed 5. She was average at best, but a sword in a taijutsu battle always helped unless you were really that good with just your fists. That's not gonna be enough. 5 shrieked and charged, his movements turning wild and unpredictable. He quickly closed the gap and engaged the duo in close combat. I shot you in the head, so why don't you die, you brain-dead dumbass? Chibaku attempted a kick, which the clone caught midair. 3 tails of chakra swung, like red savage whips. The clone propelled his prey away, dodging the attacks. Haku seized the opportunity and struck horizontally. The insane Anbu jumped, avoiding the blade, and retaliated with a roundhouse kick. This time, the ice woman saw it coming and took a step backward. Chibaku didn't waste time. When 5 landed on one foot, he was welcomed with a mighty punch. The clone caught the wrist, and his second, free foot connected with Chibaku's jaw, tossing him to the ground. The ANBU's hand lit up with a blue glow, and he stabbed the puppeteer's torso, drawing unhealthy amounts of blood. Nothing will save you, puppeteer. I'm gonna hit you again and again until you're red with your own blood. Sasori's apprentice hissed in pain, helpless as his enemy struck a second time, this time in the stomach, and prepared to deal a final blow. Haku's blade interrupted him, the ice slashing the man's torso and stopping when it hit the ribs. Enraged, 5 hissed like a beast, pushed the sword out of his flesh, and his elbow broke the ice woman's nose. The surprised girl's neck was quickly caught by fingers. Kiss your teacher for me in the afterlife. He's not gonna save you this time. He electrocuted her. Haku screamed, as her body convulsed in agony. She dropped her blade, and the pain increased. An iron hand seized 5's grip and ruthlessly shattered his arm. The Anbu released the ice lady and hissed, receiving a punch to the jaw for his trouble. His new opponent then proceeded to kick the clone's balls and toss him a few meters backward with strength alone. Water release. Water dragon. A powerful dragon-shaped torrent blasted 5 away. Haku sensed strong hands holding and examining her. You're fine, said Kubaiko. He didn't damage the vitals, I think. A medic will be able to patch you up in no time. Haku's eyes widened, as 5 rose up. Behind. Kubaiko slowly spun on place and faced his enemy, putting himself between the crazy clone and the former Kiri Nin. Haku struggled to move, but simply making hand seals proved to be painful and difficult. 5's shocking had messed with her nerves. You think you can take me on alone? 5 raised his functional arm, which sparked with lightning chakra. As the clone released a powerful attack, Kubaiko pointed his arms in the bolt's direction and opened his palms. The bolt of chakra reached the gauntlets, swirled around them, and switched direction. 5 roared, his own attack hitting his chest and burning it. Flames appeared on his outfit, slowly burning his clothes and flesh. I think I can manage, said Kubaiko, as the clone charged. In a blink of an eye, the former Nadaime Hokage moved behind his opponent and welcomed him with a kick. Surrender, and I promise you will be spared. Die, 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 die. 5's fist swung, the move erratic and careless. In Haku's opinion, the meds' effects had worn off, returning the clone to his raging madness. The fire wasn't helping. I am faster and stronger, Kubaiko stated evenly upon deflecting the blow and unleashing a storm of lightning-fast strikes at the Anbu, whose hits were either dodged or ineffective. The difference in skill and power was tremendous. Your comrade isn't doing any better. You have lost. He was right. It was only a matter of time. 5 would be beaten into submission or consumed by the flames of his own outfit, and 3 was being backed into a corner by Kubaiko's partner, Snakes and Rocks winning over fire jutsu. If so, I'm not dying alone. 5 noticed Haku, the blood over the mask creeping her out. He wasn't seeing her, but he could probably sense her heartbeat. He raised his arm at her and shot a bolt at her face. Kubaiko outmatched it in speed. It happened so fast Haku almost thought he had somehow teleported. In a blink, he was in front of her, catching the thunderbolt once again and redirecting it. This time, 5 didn't wait, and jumped at the surprised world traveler, clutching to his helmet. If I go down, you go down. His body released bolts of lightning, making Kubaiko shriek in pain, as the armor fried. He vainly attempted to push back his attacker, without avail. Say goodbye to your future. 5's body brightened with a blue haze. I'm gonna kill it. Haku clenched her jaw and joined her palms. 5's mouth widened in pain and surprise. The haze left his body, blood fell from his torso, and the lightning shocking Kubaiko vanished. The clone slowly stared at the icy spear impaling his heart, before moving his gaze to Haku. Why did you take so long? He asked upon falling to his side, Kubaiko recovering. I was getting restless. It didn't have to end like this. Haku shouted, more to herself than her agonizing enemy. Ha! I'm dust, and I will return to dust. That's just the way of this cursed universe. He kept staring at her. You said you would not give up to despair. Fool, despair is all. He chuckled, coughing up blood in the process. All you have, in the end. Haku narrowed her eyes. What about hope? You said you had no name. She took her breath. Why not hope? A name, EH. 5 asked, his mask red with blood. I think a name does not matter. In the end, nothing really matters, beside our actions. He chuckled one last time. Still, it's a good name. Gotta remember it. 5 closed his mouth, and fell into eternal silence. His outfit's flames finally reached the mask and started to burn it. Soon, the whole body became a funeral pyre. Kubaiko offered his hand to Haku, helping her getting back on her feet. Is everyone alright? Asked the latter. Well, Omoikane stomped on the defeated three's face. Not everyone. She stared at Chibaku, and her expression darkened. He was covered with blood. The red chakra surrounding his body was starting to dissipate, unable to mend the wounds. Kubaiko rushed at the boy's side, examining the wounds. The first blow damaged an artery and the second the spine, the former Nadime stated. The Kyuubi's chakra won't flow enough to prevent a hemorrhage. A gray aura covered the boy. This stasis should preserve his life until we find.
It happened.
It was sudden. It was brutal. It was a sour noise that pierced the minds, took over the thoughts. It was a cold sensation that paralyzed the bodies. It was a surge of malevolent chakra spreading in her bones, in the blood. Haku struggled to remain conscious, but neither Omoikane nor Kubaiko seemed affected, although the latter appeared to have a harder time at maintaining Chibaku's stasis. Oh shit, the armored woman said. Yes. Kubaiko raised his head. The 10 tails is free.
Sasori.
He could feel his limbs. It should be impossible. They weren't alive. They were wood and steel. Yet, Sasori could feel them. He could feel his fingers, his face, his hair. He opened his eyes, and stared around himself. Orochimaru was standing at his side, still holding the Kusanagi. Alpha's garden had been reduced to a sea of dust and bones. They were the only people alive, Alpha's thralls having been consumed by the monster's chakra. The 10 tails was sitting in the center of the devastation, in a lotus position. It radiated with power and malevolence. Its mere proximity should have ended Sasori's life. Yet, he had survived, and he could feel his limbs. The inorganic art infuses inorganic matter with senjutsu, giving it a life of its own, Orochimaru whispered. This natural energy is currently shielding you from its chakra, as it protects my body. Sasori glared at the monster. What is it doing? Spreading its chakra and warping Earth into its own image, I guess. The Sannin narrowed his eyes in despair. Nothing in my arsenal can take it down. The redhead frowned. The beast isn't free yet. It's still contained inside the statue, and merely using Alpha as a proxy body. I have a seal that can unbalance the chakra control of an individual, so, maybe could it disrupt the bond? Are you certain it can work? I'm not sure. I applied it to a puppet made to be sent into a pocket dimension and unbalance the jutsu user's chakra control. I never tested it against a demon vessel. It worked on Madara, but could it disrupt the link between a pseudo Jinchuriki and the Jubi? It may work, if I manage to put it inside the 10 tails body. You aren't going to do it. In fact, being even near it will kill you once you get close. I'm the only one of us with enough control over senjutsu to survive such action. Orochimaru handed Sasori his blade. Put the seal on it. I can infuse it with enough senjutsu to get past the flesh and activate the seal, if I get close enough. Extending the Kusanagi would dilute the energy and it would be for naught. Had he gone mad? Your range of vision won't allow you to dodge all incoming attacks. Unless, he smirked, unless we cheat. Orochimaru apparently understood, and he smiled back. It has 100 to 1 chance of working, but it's still a chance.
I'm afraid not.
The 10 tails stared in their direction and opened its mouth. Stay dead this time, it said, firing a sphere of purple light in their direction. Orochimaru in turn quickly bit his finger, made hand seals faster than the eyes could follow and slammed his palms on the soil. A cloud of smoke covered the duo's vision, and the sphere exploded against something. Probably a snake summon, strong enough to survive a small Bijudama, the redhead thought. Once the dust settled, Sasori looked up. And up, and up. It was a colossal snake. Sasori had never seen such creature. It could easily tower over buildings and small mountains, and as long as a river. Its scales were black and purple, its eyes as green as grass, and it had fangs the size of fully grown humans. Orochimaru, the beast hissed. Its skin was a bit singed, but the summon didn't seem harmed. Did you just use me, the mighty Manda, king of all serpents, as a glorified meat shield? Who do you think I am? Well, the Sannin grinned. A glorified snake shield. Silence. You sneaky, ruthless, magnificent bastard, said the snake. That was an awesome and cruel stunt. I heartily applaud. It noticed the redhead puppeteer. Oh, nice to meet you. Orochimaru, is that your new bodyguard? And it finally noticed the earth-destroying abomination hissing in front of them. What do you want, you little ugly thing? A royal ass whipping from my royal highness. Manda, would you kindly try to restrain it? Orochimaru asked. We may have a way to defeat it, but we need time. He handed Sasori his bloodied finger. Here is your ink for the seal. The snake snorted. Couldn't find a pen. Blood is dramatic, yet unpractical. Enough babbling. The 10 tails prepared to fire a new sphere. Die. A tail whipped its face, and threw the sphere against the ceiling, destroying part of it. Manda's wonderful tail whip. Manda roared ferociously, winding around the surprised 10 tails' limbs and pinning it to ground. Manda's fabulous binding. Sasori's jaw dropped, as he finalized the seal. How can it survive direct contact? Who do you think taught me senjutsu in the first place? The Sannin snickered, as the redhead finished his work. Orochimaru waved his kusanagi. Ready. Always, Sasori replied, linking his strings to the Sannin's limbs. 100 to 1 chance of survival. Good odds, given the situation. Orochimaru nodded and charged. With a powerful roar, the 10 tails freed itself, propelling Manda into the ceiling. The Biju rose up and its eye shined brightly. Hundreds of fire blasts were launched from it, each deadlier than the last at the two humans. Combining his agility with Sasori's precision, perspective and guidance, Orochimaru dodged them all. They all missed, and he continued advancing. Stop, the 10 tails ordered, its hand tails vainly moving to smash the Sannin. Orochimaru continued his advance, untouched. I command you to stop. It opened its mouth and released a new sphere at the snake Sannin, exploding into a sea of fire. Not only did it miss, but the rebel leader proceeded to outrun the blast, dodge flying debris, and reach the 10 tails, his face as serene as ever. What? Impossible. Orochimaru jumped toward the creature's torso. Stay back. I calm. With a roar, the Sannin stabbed the monster's flesh. In an instant, it was over. The 10 tails exploded into purple light and smoke. Orochimaru gracefully landed on the ground, as gently as a feather. The kusanagi fell to the ground, next to Alpha's body. The malevolent chakra quickly dissipated, vanishing as quickly as it spread. Slowly and carefully, Sasori joined the Sannin, the duo observing Alpha's body. Her clothes had been partly torn to shreds by the 10 tails chakra, and she was frankly half naked. The end of the link caused her death, Sasori suggested. The chakra regenerating her was the only reason she could survive the possession. When it ended, it was over. Alpha opened her eyes. Years of advanced reflexes saved Sasori's life, as he instinctively dodged an incoming blade of wind. How could she still be alive? The puppeteer wondered, genuinely astonished, as the woman rose once again, furious, harmed, and ready for a fight. I will not surrender, I refuse. Woman, you are a mess, broken, bruised, and against 2 super mammals and 1 awesome master of snake fu, Manda replied. It's not amusing. Sasori nodded in appreciation, observing as new figures reached them. Kubaiko and Omoikane were followed by 3 restrained and bruised clones, and Haku was carrying a kid covered with a gray haze. Sasori's eyes widened in dread, and in a foolish fit of worry, turned his back on Alpha and reached his apprentice. No, he whispered upon examining the wounds, no, no. I will keep the stasis until he gets medical attention, Kubaiko whispered to the puppeteer. However, I'm afraid it might not be enough. It's over Alpha, Orochimaru declared. As long as I stand, it will never be over, the priestess snarled, gathering wind around her palms. Alone or not, I will continue the fight. Haku snapped at this point. To fight for what? For a grave and ashes? Are you truly this selfish? Sasori didn't see her expression, nearly completely focused on his apprentice. He didn't need to. The voice was all he needed. Hundreds died today because of you. For this garden of bones. When will it stop? When everyone but you is dead. 5 died for nothing because he loved you. Because of your actions, Chibaku is at death's doors, and who knows how many the 10 tails killed upon awakening. You do nothing but bring pain and death to others. You're just as bad as Madara. You use people as tools and you have them killed without care. You say you want to bring peace and unity, but have you brought beside war and destruction? Sasori slowly turned around and glared at the dictator, hesitating between gutting her on the spot for threatening his apprentice or worrying over his apprentice. However, her expression was, to put bluntly, surprising. It wasn't rage, it wasn't denial.
It was regret.
There truly is nothing left, is there? Alpha stared at the agonizing Chibaku, then at her captured men, and finally at Orochimaru. If I surrender, will you spare the clones that fought today? You are in no position to negotiate anything, but, yes. Those who surrender will be spared. Alpha bit her lower lip, and the winds around her fists vanished. Utopia was my idea, my responsibility, she said, offering her hands. I'm the only one to blame for the work camps, and everything else. The others were just following orders. Alpha, you're under arrest for genocide, crimes against mankind, homicides, torture, and a dozen other charges I haven't memorized. Orochimaru transformed the soil into chains and restrained the woman with them. Your men will be given fair trial. The Sannin then glanced at Chibaku. My best medics will work on him. It was a fool's hope, and Sasori was well aware of that. The damage was too great. The body would not survive. There was, however, one solution still available. Chibaku. The second he regained consciousness, the blonde was aware something was different. His vision was greater than before, better, more precise. He couldn't close his eyes. His limbs felt, well, he couldn't feel them. He knew they were there, but they weren't warm. They weren't alive. He didn't even feel the air in his mouth. In fact, he didn't sense any mouth. For a split second, the puppeteer wondered if he was dead, and attempted to glance around him. Surprisingly, he managed to move his head without problem. Chibaku was in a hospital room, white. No windows, one door to get out. And Sasori staring over him. Good morning, Naruto. He forced himself to smile. It was supposed to be reassuring, but Chibaku found it creepy. You returned from a long journey. Yes, he remembered. He remembered 5, his parody of a Chidori. He remembered the pain and the blood. How long was I out? His voice had changed. It was deeper. What happened to me? You were asleep for 4 days. Many things have happened in the meantime. Sasori interlocked his fingers on his lap. You should have died. Your vital organs were a mess and your spine was crushed. The Kyuubi vainly attempted to save your life, but the wounds were too severe. You tried to save me. Yes I did. The Kyuubi's tone was different, warmer. I was certain you would die, to be honest. Your body was failing you. The Resistance's best medics did their best, but they only could stall the inevitable. Tsunade herself would have given up. I didn't. The redhead searched under his robes. A mirror, Chibaku thought, suspicions filling his still beating heart. He had a pretty good guess why he couldn't feel his limbs. He stared into his reflection and contemplated his new body. Steel. It had to be steel, or an alloy. His shape was humanoid, his body made of assembled red and black plates. His limbs were big, thick and strong. His visage lacked any features, replaced with a glowing orange, triangle-shaped screen. He looked like a bulky knight with a heavy armor. His chest was golden, and deep underneath, a human heart was beating. I will add hair later, alongside fake skin. It should make it easier for you to adapt. Sasori, Chibaku cut in, honestly. As a living puppet, I look awesome, even if I don't have a nose. He moved his head and stared into his master's eyes. The design isn't yours, I guess. You favor wood over steel. Technically, some of the components are made of titanium, but that's beside the point. Kubaiko and his comrades helped with the design and construction, whereas Orochimaru provided most of the materials and resources. Chibaku nodded to himself, before mentally frowning. Ah, yes, I don't have eyebrows anymore. I have to get used to it. Wait, did you just say Orochimaru? It's a long story, Sasori scoffed. As you guessed, I salvaged your heart and replicated the same procedure I used on myself to turn you into a human puppet. It was the only way to save your life. He struggled to utter his next words. I apologize. For what? Turning me into your masterpiece. Wasn't it your goal all along? Chibaku chuckled. Look, I'm alive. No big deal. Just need to get used to my new body, and it'll be fine. You're strangely happy for someone turned into a killing machine. To think I was worried for you.
Really?
Did I just say that out loud? The Kyuubi cursed. Forget these words, meatbag. They certainly don't mean anything. I think you're cute when you're embarrassed. I'm not. How can I? I'm still linked to your soul and put into a junk body. And you're still alive. I don't feel warm inside, you dream. I never said you were. The Kyuubi wisely decided to shut up and stop digging itself in further. No, Sasori's voice snapped Chibaku out of his thoughts. No, Naruto, you aren't my masterpiece. And you aren't my apprentice. When I operated you, when Kubaiko brought you dying to me, I felt something one does not feel for a student, or in life achievement. I felt something more. Sasori's hand seized Chibaku's own. I felt how a father feels for a son.
Haku.
Here lies Zabuza. He lived to fight and fought to save lives. His tales shall be told for the ages to come. Haku thought it was a nice epitaph. Orochimaru had promised he would take care of the tombstone and make sure no one would disturb him. Staring at the nocturnal sky, the young woman wondered if stars were observing her, watching her struggle as a spectacle. Are you watching, Zabuza-sama? She whispered to the dead, as she deposited flowers over the ground. I will make you proud, I promise. She stared at the second tombstone and placed flowers next to it, as well. Here lies hope. His name was the one thing he had. It will not be forgotten, and neither shall his life. Picking up the sounds of someone walking in his direction, Haku moved her head. I apologize if I disturbed you, Chibaku spoke, with his new deep voice. He was carrying roses. I can come later if you prefer. No, go ahead. She lowered her eyes. Sorry, Chibaku-san.
For what?
If I had gone for the kill since the very beginning, you would still be normal. Haku-san, I ceased to be normal since the moment I was born. I see it as a metamorphosis, another stage of my life. No big deal. And if I remember well, you stopped him from landing a killing blow, so you saved my life instead of ruining it. The guy was easily good enough to rival Junin. I doubt going for the kill since the get-go would have changed the situation. He placed flowers over both graves. Why did you bury his ashes here? To remember. Haku briefly glanced at her friend's body. He was close to 8 feet tall, and even if his movements were clumsy, they had a lot of strength behind. The Ice Lady had little doubt he could shatter stone if he wanted to. You know, I have every reason to hate him, and yet I don't. Chibaku crossed his mechanical arms and faked a cough. In many ways, he's what I would have become had Alpha found me instead of Sasori. I would have been loyal and bitter. He needed to be put down, but the fact gives no pleasure. I never enjoyed killing. Haku stared sadly at Zabuza's grave. It is necessary from time to time, but when you start enjoying it, there is no turning back. My teacher taught me that, and he told me to follow my own path. I think I have found it. Chibaku silently listened. The world shouldn't produce people as miserable as he was. If he had had a little more support and guidance, he wouldn't have fallen into self-destructiveness and despair. The world is full of sadness and suffering, and I intend to fix it as much as I can. To make sure nobody else ends up like he did. But for this, I need to be stronger. She took her breath. From now on, nobody dies under my watch. Not even me. Chibaku couldn't repress a bad joke. You have grown, Haku-san. Zabuza is proud of you, wherever he is. Thank you. Haku smiled and lent him her hand. You're taking your transformation surprisingly well. To be honest, becoming a human puppet is something I intended to do, albeit not so soon. He chuckled at the lady's astonished face. The prospect of turning into what I am may disturb you, and I can understand it. I mean, I won't be able to start a family, I won't be able to feel the most basic physical pleasures, but I can theoretically live forever, I will never grow old and sick, and I'm one step closer to my goal. I try to be optimist. As for a family, he chuckled, I already have one.
Your goal.
One day, once I have surpassed my master in all fields, I will find a child on the roads. One with no future but incredible potential. I will look into his or her eyes, and if I like what I see, I shall take this kid as my apprentice. He briefly laughed. Does it sound familiar? The rebel. Are you absolutely certain of your decision? Orochimaru frowned in disappointment as Kubaiko nodded politely. Finishing his meal, the Sannin stared at the word travelers. He had cordially invited them to share this feast, and had hoped they would stay. You will be treated as the heroes you are. I will do everything in my power to reward your efforts. As much as I find the description of heroes ironic, we must insist. Sasori coughed. We have comrades to find. We are honored by your offer, but our family, needs us, Haku added politely. Well, it was fun as long as it lasted. Manda shrugged, resting lazily on an oversized throne. The snake was too proud to settle for anything less. He had previously suggested having a feast at his shiny snake kingdom, instead of the rebellion's former headquarters, but his summoner had rebuked the offer. The story had started here, and so it had to finish here as well. Still, we're going to miss you. We need more strong-willed mammals around here. Orochimaru couldn't agree more. If your decision is final, at least allow me to offer you a reward for your precious help. Joining his palms, the Sannin summoned a scroll. This is the summoning contract of the snakes, which I modified with Kubaiko's assistance. If you sign it, you will be able to call upon the snakes of this world, or even me, if you ever need my help. I will come. Let me get this straight. Chibaku started, you altered a summoning contract within, 3-4 days, and enhanced it simply with vague theories and information. Manda chuckled. Orochimaru is many things, but a retard he isn't. He's the smartest mammal alive in my book. You're too kind. The Sannin reddened in embarrassment. I simply have a special talent for summoning. Special talent? Surely you jest. Kubaiko snorted. After decades of research, my knowledge of summoning contracts and arrays is vague at best. You on the other hand have cracked the theory behind them and discovered secrets Seal Masters never imagined existed in the first place. If you could help us, I'm sure summoning anyone to other worlds would become child's play within months. Orochimaru smiled in embarrassment. The armored man overestimated him. After I fix my world, it would be with pleasure. I first have to handle the transition toward a new, non-despotic regime. Speaking of it, what are you going to do next? Sasori raised an eyebrow. Build a new hidden village. Orochimaru shook his head. In a theocracy, the people belong to the gods. In a ninjacracy, the people belong to the nation. In oligarchies, the people belong to a minority. In a despotism, people belong to one person. I have rejected those solutions and created my own. The people will belong to the people. The Sannin chuckled. Democracy. It sounds good, isn't it? That's interesting, but Chibaku tilted. You're a nice guy and a hero. If you ruled alone, you could have greater results and everyone will applaud. He chuckled. I can't believe I said that of Orochimaru, of all men. Orochimaru was beginning to wonder what his doubles had done to deserve this kind of reputation. Surely they weren't all total bastards, were they? You simply have to look outside these walls to see where the last benevolent dictatorship lead us to. As for ruling, I was born to work in a lab, not to lead, but circumstances decided otherwise. I have no intention of staying in power longer than necessary. The snake sage took his breath. Alpha's words convinced me she started as someone you could relate to. An idealist with her head full of dreams and wanted to offer a better future to this devastated land. She was in the same position as I was, leading a revolution to depose tyrants. She used to be a rebel once, but power, absolute power corrupts absolutely. It is easy to force people to share your ideas instead of convince them. It is quick, it's efficient, and it ultimately ends with extremism and another revolution, and the whole horror restarts anew. I will break this cycle once and for all by making sure no one can gain absolute power ever again. A wise decision, Manda nodded. As the others stared at his throne, he hissed. I am the king because I lead my species during crisis and wars, and because I'm awesome. Otherwise, snakes are wise enough not to need someone telling them what to do. I guess it can become the same with you mammals. It will take time, but I will destroy our previous ruler's legacy. The clans will have to accept they aren't some kind of master race, my people will learn true friendship and peace, and the clones will be given fair trials. Some like 3 will receive a death sentence for their participation in a genocide, but most will be given a chance to atone and repair this devastated planet. Your friends 20 and 90 have already accepted to work for the rebuilding of civilization. I suggested they choose names, to live as individuals and not gears of a machine.
Are they man?
90 is still as adorable and clumsy as ever, and 20, Orochimaru took a red notebook from under his robes and gave it to Chibaku. He wanted me to give you this. I will attempt to find a cure for the clones' defects and allow them to become people of their own right. In time, a few might start families and find happiness. Then, this leaves only Alpha and the statue, Kubaiko whispered. What do you intend to do with her? Publicly execute her? And make her a martyr? Unhappy people tend to lionize dead leaders, and since the new regime won't suddenly bring peace and food for all. Orochimaru trailed off. No, I have something else in mind for her. I will strip her of her powers, and have her see the work camps, her victims, and take responsibility for her actions. Perhaps she will try to atone for what she did, and if she doesn't, she will live a broken shell of her former self, powerless, alone. A fate worse than death, in his opinion. He couldn't settle for less. As for the statue, I gave it to the White Snake Sage, the spiritual leader of all serpents. He and other summons will keep it until we find a more permanent solution to get rid of it. I swear no one will ever use the 10 Tails power again. You never cease to astonish me, my friend. Not many of your kind would give up on limitless power, no matter the drawbacks. Manda stared down at the world travelers. Call me if anyone needs to fear the power of Snake Fu. It's gonna be pretty boring around here now. We have earned our happy ending and our enemies are gone, until they return and we kick their ass again. I give you all my blessings, Orochimaru said softly. I hope you will find your lost comrades and reach your dreams. This is all I wish. As the others bowed in respect and friendship, a woman chose that time to enter the room. Finished Eon's programming, said Omoikane. We leave whenever you want, maggots. Chibaku. 20. New one, nothing personal I hope. I don't know who you are exactly or where you're going, but, take care of yourself. 90. I'm so sorry we had to fight, and, well, I hope we're still friends. It meant something to me. So, well, I hope you're fine, wherever you are. Chibaku silently closed the notebook and stepped outside the strange machine. The inside wasn't particularly bizarre, or at least, not as much as he had expected from a dimension-traveling machine. For starters, it was a circular room with seats equipped with belts, and Omoikane had decorated the inside. Except a panel and computers, it looked like a dining room. The travel itself had lasted an hour, and besides some shaking, Eon had traveled undisturbed. Of course, Chibaku had no idea what could happen when the machine was disturbed. Landing in a world of spandex pirates, I presume, the Kyuubi deadpanned. As the gates opened, the puppeteer was welcomed by a strange, wonderful sight. They were on a beach of black sand, in front of a red sea. Haku spoke for the puppeteer. The sky was even more disturbing, a mix of yellow and red, without clouds. In the horizon, the crew could see flying rocks, strange structures, and islands. It doesn't make sense. Yes, Kubaiko whispered, upon exiting the traveling device. I told you, this is the end. A dimension made of the remnants of universes long gone. The geography changes all the time, the structures you see appear and move elsewhere according to a logic we do not yet understand. There is no sun, and yet we have light. No earth core, and yet there is gravity. This whole place ignores the laws of physics. Toys with them, you mean? Omoikane shrugged. I once saw a man disguised as a bat drop from the sky and falling into the sea. Nonsense doesn't begin to describe this place. The island is our base, a location we took as our home. This, Kubaiko pointed at a yellow, metallic, tower structure standing farther down the beach, is the center of our installation. It keeps tracks of all the worlds we discovered, gathers data, and I will cut the sentence short before it turns into techno-babble, a new voice interrupted. A familiar man stepped into view, wearing a blue shirt, white shorts, sandals, and black glasses. He had long white hair, and a recognizable face. Hello guys, nice to meet you. Kabuto. Chibaku quickly corrected himself. This man was Kabuto, but with 10 years more, a leaner body, and his outfit was quite un-Kabuto-ish. I used to be called that, until I attempted a space-time ninjutsu and screwed up in a spectacular way, the man chuckled. I'm Fukuro, the overseer of our team. Can I offer you refreshments? It would be good to take some rest after your latest adventure. Gotta get my swimsuit later, but first, we have a bigger problem to deal with. Yes, Omoikane, I was getting into it, the situation is not pretty. At all. He watched at his comrades. I lost contact with Vajra 6 hours ago. And you did not inform us. Kubaiko jumped in place. How did it happen? Hey, I thought it was just a temporary malfunction. I tried to correct it myself, the scientist protested. He was investigating one of the worlds in danger of collapsing, and the communication ended mid-sentence. I tried to reactivate it, but the armor ceased to send me information and all my attempts were in vain. One of you will be teleported where he was to investigate as soon as possible. Sasori scoffed, attracting everyone's attention. We keep hearing about this Vajra for days, but the only things we have learned are his name and some of his story. Do you have a photo? We might help locate him. Kubaiko nodded to himself and faced the trio. You remember, Sasori, when Orochimaru had patiently explained me how that anti-utopia came into being.
I remember.
To be honest, it's not the first time I've been put in a similar situation. I have visited a world where my brother became a benevolent tyrant and others where my clan was made of warmongers opposed to the peaceful Uchiha, although Madara was still evil. I have seen worlds where the will of fire became a tool to justify tyrannical regimes under Danzo, one of my former students. But it was the first world I have seen where things went that bad, the first place that showed me how warped and malevolent my life philosophy can become. It is painful to see everything you believe in turned into a nightmare. The machine man tried to put himself in the man's shoes. If he had seen a world where puppetry had been used to enslave people instead of helping creativity, it would be a terrible experience indeed. Why are you telling us this? I want you to understand the infinity follows some vague guidelines. In 80% of the known multiverse, Naruto Uzumaki exists or existed, in one form or another, be it as a male, a female, a hero or a criminal, a nobody or a legend. In nearly all the worlds he exists in, Madara became a maniac that made the life of thousands miserable and was directly or indirectly the secret architect behind countless tragedies. In 70% of the worlds where Konoha exists, the Kyuubi attacked it at least once. There is a pattern, similarities. It's why I assume, most often than not, that some events happened, that some people are frequently evil and others not. Omoikane shrugged. Vajra is the living proof these rules do not constantly apply. That sometimes, a man who seems fated to turn into a monster, does not. You imply Vajra is a villain we faced? Haku pondered. Fukuro searched in his pockets and brought out a photo. I took it a year ago, he said, as he showed it to the group. Chibaku had to admit, it was a shocking surprise. He wasn't the only one to recognize the man. Haku paled in horror and dread and understanding, and Sasori struggled to maintain a stoic expression. The photo was banal. 4 people in casual clothing taking a drink together. The 4th man was an old man in his 70s, with white hair, wrinkles, a friendly smile, and an aging, familiar face. The face they had come to hate and fear. Once upon a time, Vajra used to be called Madara Uchiha, Kubaiko started. It seems insane, but it's the truth. Think about it. If there is a world where he is evil, there must be a world where he's good, Chibaku whispered. He had been used to seeing Madara as a constant, vicious threat, so the existence of a good version of him was shocking. To be honest, I do not consider him to be Madara, simply a person who shares the name and bloodline. He's simply too different, and the only one I met that is a decent person. I'm afraid he's the exception that confirms the rule. Kubaiko shrugged. I told you his world developed advanced technology using the Biju. Vajra theorized it was because the sage never taught ninjutsu to mankind in ancient times, leading people to grow without it and focus on technique and machinery. Bloodline limits existed. However, their application changed. The Byakugan greatly helped medical science, and Madara used his Sharingan to advance physics and mathematics. There was no feud between Senju and Uchiha, no ninja clan era, no hidden villages, and Vajra never was anything more than a respectable scientist and scholar. The destruction of his homeworld by the very technology he helped design is a source of guilt and shame he still hasn't gotten over. Freaky, said Chibaku. Why do good people always suffer the most? Because they have the most to lose, the Kyuubi whispered ominously. Kubaiko. The screen room, as it was nicknamed, was the place where Fukuro spent most of his time. A large circular room equipped with dozens of screens and computers, it compiled any information gathered by the armor and allowed direct discussion and support. Kubaiko took his seat and sat next to Fukuro, politely refusing a drink. Worlds are collapsing, or so I have heard. That's just the tip of the iceberg unfortunately, said Furuko, photos materializing on the screens. It represented a version of Konoha, with 4 Hokage faces on the main monument. This is REALITY 23. Diverging element. Naruto Uzumaki and Kiba Inuzuka switched teams after previous matchups proved disastrously inefficient. I took this photo 2 years ago. No, Vajra took it 5 days ago. Fukuro smiled. Focus. The Nadaime obeyed, and narrowed his eyebrows. The picture was nearly identical, save for a detail. A spot of yellow in the completely blue sky. What is that? A breach opening on REALITY 355. The barriers between realities are weakening, and portals are multiplying. Vajra recorded dozens of them and the number keeps growing. REALITY 355, the responsible Jiraiya world. Kubaiko frowned. It all started with this one. The breach opened soon after your battle with these 3 Uchiha Madara. Vajra was investigating your disappearance when he noticed it. He also interrogated Jiraiya and his godson. You will be happy to learn both are fine, although the Sannin harbors post-burn wounds across his skin. Fukuro chuckled. They mistook Vajra for an attacker the first time he crossed paths with them. Took him 2 hours of explaining to convince them that he wasn't trying to kill anyone. They send you their regards, by the way. I will have to thank them for their help at a later date. They're good people. The former Hokage crossed his arms. These breaches could turn out to be dangerous. They are. Remember that Naruto Uzumaki, who organized the downfall of Konohagakure, killed the Sandaime with his bare hands, and proceeded to turn the continent into an anarchy-filled hellhole. Or that sage possessed by the 10 tails. Imagine what would happen if they crossed a breach to a defenseless universe. The images of the possessed sage still haunted the man's dream. Imagining that mass of tentacles and eyes appearing in the middle of Konoha was disturbing. That's not all. The breaches are by nature weakening the barriers separating realities. With time, the breach could grow to let one Earth cross it and crash into another. It's pretty much what is starting to happen in a few cases. If the problem isn't corrected soon, I'm afraid it might start a domino effect and cause the destruction of hundreds, if not thousands, of realities. It was a nightmare. How can we avert this disaster? By locating the guy responsible and asking for his cooperation. Fukuro locked eyes with him. We heavily suspect the power of this Kazama Arashi to have caused it through unforeseen side effects. How can we be so sure, you might ask? Well, we reproduced his entire travel and the worlds he visited are the most affected, and his homeworld will, if not stopped, crash into another reality in a big explosion first. Kubaiko cracked his neck. Fixing breaches in dimensions. Easier said than done. You reproduced his travel, you said. What prevents us from locating where he went? That's the problem. Whatever happened during your fight with that Madara triad caused the travel to leave no trace. His former world jumps were messy. Like someone breaking doors instead of opening them, and the mess he leaves in his wake by doing so makes it all but impossible to track. As of right now, it's impossible to learn where he is, or if he's even alive. This leaves us with three options. Try to solve the problem on our own, which doesn't look good, try to find him by exploring world after world, which might take eons, or wait until he travels again, in which case, we could locate him. How much time, before his homeworld is destroyed? I would say, 3 weeks. Perhaps 2. Afterward, I would advise praying, 'cause only the gods could save the day, and you know how likely that's going to happen. The man drank and sneered. We can try to slow down the inevitable, but without Arashi. Kubaiko glanced at the door and interrupted the conversation. It's not polite to eavesdrop conversations, Haku. The young woman blushed and entered, giving the duo a polite nod. It wasn't my intention, she excused herself. I am sorry if I disturbed you. Haku stared at the screen. None of us knew. What is done, and I doubt any of you could have realized the danger of Kazama's method without proper equipment. Kubaiko glanced at Fukuro. Could you? The man shrugged. Banished from my own office. You jest. The scientist politely smiled at Haku and exited. Kubaiko silently offered her a seat. She sat quietly, and for a few seconds, no word was spoken. You wanted to talk to me, isn't it? I could see it into your eyes. I had something to ask, but given what I just heard it can wait, said Haku with a faint voice. I know someone that can help solve our mistakes. If we can get into contact with them, they would probably be able to fix the situation. Kubaiko blinked in surprise. Truly, that's interesting, but we're both aware you would not pass on the occasion of seeking information on a good Madara Uchiha unless it was important. What is on your mind? Haku smiled. I would like to ask you to take me as an apprentice. It may not be the right time. However, I want the power to help others as much as I can. Since the situation is sour, I would understand if you refused. Kubaiko had expected such request, ever since her former mentor died. Simply not so soon. It's the debacle with this 5 that convinced you. He had a name. The teen narrowed her eyes in displeasure. I don't want to see anyone else end as he did, broken and despaired. I want to give hope to others. A wise and noble choice. He joined his fingers. I gladly accept to take you under my wing. I managed to train 6 people during a war, I can certainly tutor 1 person during such troubled times. Haku bowed down in gratitude. Thank you. When will we start? You're eager to learn, Kubaiko chuckled. Right after you explain who can help us, and where he or she can be found. It took her half an hour to give the details, and yet the man still had a hard time understanding what he was hearing. A different multiverse. Dragons. Kubaiko raised an eyebrow. It's confusing.
Sasori.
Cannon. Chibaku glanced at Omoikane. Kunai launcher. Jetpack. I tell you, I can upgrade your body into an awesome weapon of mass destruction in no time, the woman smirked sadistically. By the time I'm done with you, you will be turned into an Iron Man, no, an ironmonger. No, I will reinforce the armor and turn you into a living tank of doom. Sasori had no idea what a tank was, but it sounded efficient. The offer was too good to pass up. May you do the same with my current body. I will remake it using iron and steel, if needed. Omoikane grinned, obviously happy to entertain her weapon fetish. Chibaku simply glanced at his teacher. Truly. The redhead nodded and explained his reasoning. The ninja world is ruled by an arms race, student. Over the ages, puppetry followed it. Chikamatsu gave it a place on the battlefield, and I upgraded his theory. However, since we started traveling through universes, we have been losing badly. Our puppets are destroyed one after the other. It's obvious we have reached a point where current puppetry is clearly outdated against new, supremely dangerous threats like Madara or Alpha. He observed his student's thick, strong limbs. I think you represent the new stage of puppetry. An individual controlling a puppet from within, building more advanced models and defeating enemies with versatile weaponry. So, you want to win the arm race? Omoikane smirked. Believe, with me, it won't be a race, it will be a trashing. Chibaku crossed his arms. Could you give me a Byakugan vision? It would help on the field for battle and researches.
Naruto.
What? Sasori's student feigned innocence. I'm certainly not going to use this weapon to spy on women's baths or see past their clothes. I mean, I don't have reproductive organs anymore. I promise if it randomly activates around Haku, it will be a coincidence, and my mind won't lust at her perfect, beautiful. Sasori sighed. Some things never changed.
Omake.
Why Kushina should never teach. Time to show you the power of red spandex. The redhead shouted, her headband covering one of her eyes. She was wearing, no, such horror shouldn't, ever, be described with words. I am Redbeard. I fear no one, but I am feared across the seas. Minato put a palm on his face and cringed at his girlfriend's latest prank. Why am I dating her, again? Redbeard sensei. Guy jumped in place. Why are you so awesome? Because I'm shining with the fires of youth. She tossed the gen in a green spandex outfit. With it, you shall burn with coolness. Promise me to spread the power of youth across all corners of the land, beginning with that sulky Kakashi. Yes, Redbeard sensei.
Guy.
Redbeard sensei. Somehow, Minato had the feeling Kakashi's life would become even more miserable.
Chapter 34.
Blade of Friendship. Itachi was the first to go down. He made a valiant effort, with fireballs, water techniques, and wind blasts. His ninjutsu was flawless, his movements were quick and efficient. For a split second, Yugito thought he could defeat Kakuzu. The impression had lasted until the bounty hunter retaliated. It happened in a flash. The Uchiha was dodging one of the masks, fire blasts, when Kakuzu jumped on him from behind, tackled the teen onto a branch, and attempted to kill him with his bare hands. The prodigy reacted by locking eyes with the bounty hunter, his Sharingan swirling. The missing nin stopped moving, and Yugito understood he had fallen under the influence of a genjutsu. Itachi approached to deal a killing blow. Kakuzu's hands grabbed his neck so fast the movement was a mere blur, and broke it in 2 seconds flat. No last words, no flashy jutsu. The missing nin executed him on the spot. You really thought I would live for a century without having developed counters to the Sharingan? You Uchiha are all the same, prodigy or not. I play possum, you get near, I strike faster than the Sharingan can predict, and you're dead. That's what you get by fighting the most badass 80 years old grandpa on the continent, the murderer darkly commented as he stood back up and looked at the others. Yugito would have gladly avenged him, but Hidan, no, his god, kept her busy. By the will of Jashin-sama, your life ends now. Hidan snarled as the dark kami started firing purple blast upon purple blast towards Yugito and Mei, forcing them onto the defensive. Each attack destroyed a good chunk of the landscape, reducing it to a series of perfectly round craters. The Nibi's vessel and the Kiri Nin dodged as much as they could, understanding that any successful hit would be fatal. In the middle of jumping, they unleashed fire blasts on the unprotected Hidan, hoping to kill him and get rid of the kami at the same time. Jashin, however, was well aware of their strategy and moved its shadowy arm in front of his priest, shielding him. The fire died upon contact with the creature, as if it never existed in the first place. Not even smoke was left behind from their efforts. It's the kami of void, Kitten. It's a darkness that consumes, and anything touching it will cease to be. If Hidan dies, it will vanish, Yugito countered, dodging a punch from the deity with a leap. The earth dissolved into dust upon mere contact with the fingers. It will never let you reach the priest, the Nibi shot back, as Yugito avoided an arm swing by kissing the grass. Besides, followers of Jashin are notoriously hard to kill. You better break out the prison and run. Then, it was Tsunade's turn to fall. She did better than Itachi. She reached Kakuzu and punched him in the face, demolishing his jaw and nose. The man flew backward through the air, and unleashed his threads. They wound around nearby trees, and propelled the bounty hunter back at full force, legs extended. He kicked the Senju in the forehead with the might of a cannonball. Tsunade soared back to the earth, and unfortunately, Jashin caught her with its hand. In a second, the princess was nothing. Not even dust. Wow, I take back what I said during, well, the entirety of our partnership, Hidan. Your god is awesome, Kakuzu commented, putting his jaw back in its former place with a loud crack. Still, that was anticlimactic. He gave a thumbs up to Jashin. Nice catch, evil deity thing. Jashin-sama reduced her to ashes. The priest commented with a maniacal grin. She was dust and returned to dust. Yeah, Kakuzu trailed off. I didn't know you liked poetic metaphors. Why don't you entertain people for money, moron? At least you would be useful for something.
You jerk. I love you too.
Yugito rose up, and glared at the laughing murderer. You like to kill people, right? She growled, chakra covering her body. I will show you what it is to reduce someone to ashes. Hidan ceased to laugh, as the woman took the shape of a gigantic, two-tailed cat, which was preparing a bijudama aimed at his face. The Jinchuriki fired the ball of pure demonic chakra at her target with a mighty roar, intending to destroy her target and the surrounding area in a single blast, and Jashin stopped it with its finger. The sphere vanished without a sound. A flash of purple light illuminated the clearing. A second later, Yugito had returned to normal, the Nibi's chakra having receded back into its seal. What? I told you it was useless to fight a kami, Kitten. Run away, now. I guess you weren't as tough as I thought you were, Kakuzu spoke. Jashin's face lit up, preparing to finish her off with a last shot. A cone of mist hit the god, surrounding it with a thick haze and dissolving grass it touched. Boil release, Mei explained bluntly, upon grabbing Yugito's sleeve. It should stall it for some time. Let's get out of here.
Watch I.
Kakuzu, his threads attached to a nearby tree, swung toward them, the arm extended and ready for a deadly punch at high speed. Yugito reacted faster. The Nibi's chakra fused with her blood and covered her skin. In her version 2 state, the woman charged and clawed the bounty hunter. With luck, Jashin couldn't negate the woman's abilities without her in sight. The sharp claws slashed through Kakuzu's stony, enhanced skin, destroying the heart underneath. The corpse crashed a few meters away, but did not stay a corpse for long as a mask instantly rushed over and fused with its master's remains. The missing nin jumped back onto his feet, two of his thread creatures landing next to him. Without warning, they released a gust of wind and a burst of fire, combined into a fiery blast. Mei was faster. Water release. Water encampment pillar. She opened her lips and created a barricade of liquid, stopping the inferno. A cloud of steam began to fill the clearing. Lava release, she whispered, releasing a large amount of lava from her mouth, upwards into an arc, melting apparition technique. The idea was very good. By having the lava descend upon Kakuzu, the bounty hunter couldn't jump away and was forced to run away the old-fashioned way. Yugito seized the opportunity. Mouse hairball. The blonde spat a flaming sphere of hair, which splintered into mouse-shaped missiles. Due to being unable to jump, neither Kakuzu nor his creatures had enough space to maneuver. The flaming mice hit them all, destroying the masks, and blowing up a nasty hole in the bounty hunter's chest. The last remaining mask showered its master's body with liquid, extinguishing the flames. The next instant, it fused with him. I take back what I said, you're a pain in the ass, Yugito heard the bounty hunter whisper, as he returned from the dead yet again. He stood on his legs and frantically made hand signs, as the two women moved to finish him off. Hidan, what the hell are you doing? Get back here and be a nice meat shield. I see them, Jashin-sama. The priest roared upon exiting Maze Mist. The god fired a beam of light, annihilating entire chunks of the clearing. The two kunoichi were reduced to dodging and retreating. Kakuzu saw an opportunity and seized it. He transformed the nearby water resulting from his and Mei's techniques, and shaped it into dragon bullets. They hit Yugito the second she evaded one of Jashin's blasts, exploding against the chakra cloak. She crashed against the purple wall Hidan had constructed, being forced to retake her usual appearance. As she rose up, Mei landed next to her. They were cornered, with nowhere to run, as Kakuzu and Hidan stepped forward. It's almost a shame to murder people so talented. Nah, killing is never too good for the enemy, the bounty hunter mocked them. Hidan, they're yours. Try to have their head intact, so we can get the bounties. Jashin-sama, have mercy on their soul. The madman had used up 20 years of his life in a matter of minutes, aging rapidly. His god prepared to launch a final blast. An earthquake shook the clearing, and the purple wall fractured. A second later, it shattered. A barrage of black fire, water bullets, and air blasts hit the astonished missing nins. Unfortunately, Jashin proceeded to shield them with its body. A squad of Anbu landed next to Yugito and Mei, as the purple prison started to unravel into colored smoke. Is everyone alright? The voice belonged to a black-haired woman clad into a Junin uniform, with Konoha's headband around her left arm. She was surrounded by a red, gigantic armor of chakra with the shape of a woman with long hair, divided into 9 threads. Yugito recognized the Junin as Makoto Uchiha, an A-rank kunoichi, and the ethereal armor as Kushina Uzumaki, a supposedly dead S-rank ninja. We arrived as fast as we could. I'm afraid you are too late for half of us, Mei noted grimly, pointing Itachi's corpse with a nod of her head. Makoto's face turned into pure anguish and horror, then into intense wrath. Uchiha always pay their debts, she muttered ominously.
Kamui.
Kenta had done his homework. If only I could use Amaterasu on it, Kamui thought upon dodging the burning dog's fangs. What did Madara call it? Blaze Eater. How can the seals take my fire and leave this creature? Kenta's bone blade drew near of his throat, nearly beheading his former student. The Sharingan was able to predict his movements with perfect clarity, and analyze them. The target's attack was precise, yet sluggish. The madman hadn't got used yet to his new enhancements, and it showed as it enabled his opponent to escape within millimeters of being cut and put some distance between the two. Earth release. Earth-style wall. Kamui shouted as he skidded to a halt with his palms on the ground, but the bricks below his feet didn't budge. The fiery hound flanked him, breathing a cone of flames in his direction. With a jump, the Konoha nin saved his skin. Bone projectiles were thrown at his face, and he dodged them by tilting it to the side. I know you, Kakashi. He heard Kenta rant upon landing. I prepared this battlefield. No ninjutsu, nothing. My Byakugan can see past your illusions. The Keigaya's bones make me invulnerable to your taijutsu. I countered all your moves before you even used them. The seals negate elemental releases, except his summons. I see. Too bad you don't know all my moves. Kenta charged, wielding a blade of bone in one hand and a spine whip in the other. His dog once again attempted to flank him at the same time. Kenta attacked first, his whip swinging toward the copy nin's head. Dodging it, Kamui locked eyes with the fiery hound, which had leapt at his throat. Shaping a Rasengan, the Konoha nin smashed the beast's skull into a bloody pulp, and it vanished in a cloud of smoke. The move had a cost, however, as flames covered on his fingers and his skin started to burn. Before he could extinguish the fire, Kenta's whip wound around his neck with a snap. Moments later, lightning flooded his body, paralyzing him and burning his nerves. "I didn't negate all elemental releases," the sociopath whispered calmly as he made his student grovel on his face with a swift, powerful thrust. Then, he pinned Kamui to the ground by stabbing his left hand with the bone blade. If he expected the Konoha nin to scream, he was sorely disappointed. "You love lightning so much, I think it's fitting for you to die by it. Slowly, painfully, in front of your wife." "Cut the crap," Kamui hissed. "If you could have negated it, you would have. You just aren't good enough for." The Psycha's eyes narrowed in displeasure, and he increased the voltage, and Kamui finally roared in pain. His body spasmed uncontrollably, his muscles unable to respond to mental commands. He was ready to pass out, but he refused to. He couldn't offer the Psycho any satisfaction, no matter the pain. Kenta's second dog rammed into its owner's face like a thrown rock. The bastard released his whip, and the lightning stopped. The hound exploded in fire and smoke, apparently killing the sociopath. Anbu Kakashi appeared by his counterpart suddenly, removed the bone blade from Kamui's hand, tossed it away, and put his palms on his counterpart's wounds and chest. The limbs glowed with a green haze, and the Konoha nin felt his pain vanishing. "Rin taught me well. You won't pass out and you will keep your hand," he said, extinguishing the flames with mere skin contact. Apparently, he had more knowledge of fire releases than Kamui himself. "Get up quickly. We only have mere minutes left." "What did you do?" Kamui asked, upon staring at the spot where Kenta used to be. The copy nin rose to his feet, weakened, yet still in fighting condition. "I seized his dog, strapped it with 24 explosive tags, and threw it at his face. With all my training with the Chidori, touching the animal was," he blinked. The Psycho was getting back on his feet, bloodied, but alive. "Why won't you die?" "The Uzumaki's chakra is potent, it descends from the Senju," Kenta whispered. "It gives longevity, accelerates the regeneration of wounds, allows my body to adapt to foreign bloodlines," he roared, his hands glowing red. "Like this one, for example." Between them and the monster at the far side was 100 meters. A big gap. Kamui stared at his counterpart, who nodded. "Let's kick his ass." "Chidori!" they shouted at the same time. Anbu Kakashi was faster, lacking his counterpart's wounds. Kenta threw balls of red light at him, and Kamui recognized Suna's fabled scorch release. Contact would dry the body of all water and cause instant death. The Konoha nin predicted the attacks with the Sharingan, but missed Kenta by a few inches. The Anbu turned around, the Chidori dissipating. In a few seconds, he bit his finger, made hand signs, and slammed Kenta's back. 8 dogs were summoned in a cloud of smoke, biting Kenta's limbs and pinning him on place. "He's yours," the Anbu shouted to his counterpart, leaving to help Rin. "Aim for the head, he doesn't have a heart." Kamui nodded and raced forward. The Psycho tried vainly to free himself. The dog's hold was too strong, and the Konoha nin reached him. Despite what his counterpart had advised, the Chidori pierced the target's chest, the iron bones, and the flesh underneath. Kenta did have a heart, beating. The Chidori had reached it, damaging it beyond repair. "You've lost," Kamui whispered. In the background, the Anbu Kakashi's eye was bleeding profusely, turning into the Mangekyo Sharingan. The explosive device disappeared, space twisting and devouring it. It was awfully similar to Madara's own jutsu. "I own half a dozen bloodlines," Kenta cursed while coughing up blood. "I can't. Possession does not mean mastery. Are you so weak you need to rely on enhancements to keep up with me?" Kamui's arm progressed inside the man's body, making shriek in pain. "Thinking about it, you have no power, Kenta. You always had others do your dirty work, and what abilities you have, you stole. You're all talk, nothing more. A pathetic puppet master hiding in the shadows that can't do anything without dolls to protect him." Kenta smirked as the dynamite completely vanished alongside fragments of Rin's chains. The woman escaped her bindings, and embraced her husband. Unfortunately for you, this puppet master still has a few tricks. The sociopath spat at Kamui's face, and managed to free his hand from the dog's fangs, gripping his student's forearm. He tightened his hold and broke the bone with his remaining strength. Failed broken dog. The second the verbal signal was uttered, the throne on which Rin was formerly sitting was covered with glowing seals. The Anbu and Rin quickly got away as something was summoned. A dark shadow took shape over the throne, growing and destroying a good chunk of the room's ceiling and walls. Kamui frantically removed his broken arm from Kenta's torso, as bricks fell upon him. While the Saika's body was quickly buried under rubble, the Konoha nin and the Ninken managed to escape and join his two friends. The summon was a dog. A big dog. The hound was easily the size of an elephant, with an orange fur and a black muzzle. Its claws were spears, its fangs swords, and its breath fire. Its eyes were yellow, shining with cruelty. It had a golden collar around the neck, with the word, Anagami, written on it. I think we know what Kenta sacrificed his men to, Anbu Kakashi whispered. Guys, one of the Ninken whispered, upon looking at the crumbling ceiling, I don't want to be the one to say it, but this is going to suck. The hellhound roared and extended its legs, kicking the nearby walls, shattering the castle's foundations. 10 seconds later, it leapt through the ceiling, making it collapse. It's trying to bury us alive, Rin whispered, taking her husband's arm. Hurry. However, it was too late, and soon, the ruins of the castle.
Yugito.
You killed my son. Yes, do you have any idea how little that narrows down the identity of who you're talking about? Kakuzu asked the enraged Makoto incredulously. What the hell with all these, you killed my father, or, you killed my son and stuffed his puppy dog into the toilets. As if it was original. I killed my father and you don't hear me whining about it. He's trying to anger us, Yugito thought. Nah, he's just a jerk. A massive jerk. But we will volley insults another day, Kakuzu said, seizing Itachi's body with his threads before anyone could react. Hidan, we flee. Let's be brave and run with our tails between our legs. Out of all people present, the priest was the most astonished. What? I wasted too much chakra, lost too many hearts, and since the Anbu is informed we're here, it's only a matter of time before the yellow flash comes to kick our ass. Your god already took, what, 30 years of your life? How long will it take before it kills you? I'm not gonna fight a battle I can't win. Kakuzu snorted. Screw orders, let's flee to fight another day. You faithless coward, non-believer, Hidan hissed. Jashin-sama gives me the might to carry out its will. Alone or not, I will not back down. Then try killing as many as you can before dying yourself, the bounty hunter shot back, jumping on trees and into the wilderness. It would stall them and give me time to get away. In the end, that's the one thing you're good for. Makoto's Susanoo extended its left arm to kill the fleeing man, but got hit by Jashin's light beam for her trouble. The hand, shoulder, torso and half the face vanished into nothingness, allowing Kakuzu to make a getaway. Whether it was the god's way of thanking the man for fighting with his summoner, or it simply missed the deserter, Yugito would never know. Anbu prepared to chase after the missing nin, but the Uchiha lady had other ideas. We'll get him later, focus on Hidan first. Ha, you can't harm a true believer, woman. Jashin brightened. And Makoto's Susanoo punched its head with its other arm. Yugito blinked in astonishment, as the god faltered. The Susanoo's arm was quickly reduced to a stump, but for a brief second, Jashin didn't seem so invincible anymore. The deity hissed. The sound was inhuman, a frightening screech, that chilled the blood and the soul. To Yugito, it was as if her head was exploding from the inside. Kitten, the Nibi whispered. I think it is angry. Jashin proceeded to launch beams upon beams on the group. Anbu managed to create walls of earth to stop the onslaught, but the protections vanished as if they never existed one after the other. Makoto unleashed black fire upon the deity, which was extinguished before it even reached its shadowy substance. Alright, the Uchiha concluded, with a terrified expression. Any plan? Try to stay alive, Yugito suggested. This thing is a deity Hidan called with a variant of the Yondaime's technique. Harming it, and the summoner, is impossible. Retreat, the Uchiha shouted, turning around and fleeing with the rest of her group. If it's anything like Minato's jutsu, Hidan will die within minutes. We just have to gain time and outlast him. You will not escape Jashin-sama's wrath. The Dark Lord shall claim your sinful soul. The fanatic snarled, his voice weaker than previously. Beams of light destroyed trees, earth, and grass. Yugito, Mei, and Makoto managed to dodge them, although not by far. Then, the wind awakened. Yugito sensed it. Suddenly, a burst of air nearly dragged her backward, and grew stronger. The tempest pulled trees, branches, and rocks behind the Nibi vessel, forcing her and her comrades to lay on the ground and use chakra to adhere to the ground. The blonde woman turned her head, facing Jashin. As she guessed, it was the cause of the storm. Its head had taken the shape of a hole of darkness, the source of a powerful vortex. Everything nearby was sucked inside, devoured. An Anbu lost grip on the ground and flew towards it as if he was falling. His body was absorbed by the darkness, as was his very scream. Do you see the darkness? Hidan ranted madly, his voice a mere, faint whisper. Do you see the darkness? The darkness is calling you. The darkness will free you. The earth below Yugito's feet began to float, and the Nibi vessel barely managed to grab a nearby tree's trunk. In the darkness, we are bound. In the darkness we break our chains. Hidan kept ranting what may have been his religion's commandments. By breaking our chains we gain strength. With strength, we gain power. His voice was weakening, deepening. With power, we gain the world. The vortex calmed down, and Yugito landed on the ground. Jashin was convulsing, its shadowy body disintegrating into purple smoke. In seconds it was gone, and Hidan fell on his back without a sound. You're all right, the blonde woman asked Makoto and Mei, who joined her, unharmed. The remaining Anbu escorts silently leapt to their side. We are. Mei stared at Hidan's corpse, which was barely recognizable. It was the body of an 80-year-old man, lacking hair, with sunken skin and flesh over bones. The dead man was smiling, a frightening, creepy smirk from beyond the grave. What happened? The kami do not give power, they sell it. Makoto wiped the dust and leaves from her jacket. The more help they provide, the bigger the price. Jashin traded its help against his summoner's life force, and Hidan wasted it all. When he couldn't provide anything of worth, his god couldn't take a physical form any longer. If he had listened to Kakuzu, he would still be alive, Yugito thought. She remembered the chilling sentiment that Jashin spread around itself. To think such a malevolent creature was a god. Malevolence is a human concept, kitten, and Mikabashi is a force of nature. Is a hurricane evil? Can you call a wildfire malevolent? Mikabashi is neither good or evil, it simply is. You keep calling it Mikabashi. Amatsu Mikabashi, Jashin, the Star of Death, Yami, the Other, the Primordial Darkness, so many names for a single entity. It's the kami of stars, darkness, void, domination, night, and a dozen other concepts I don't remember. I think it embodies winter and cold as well, but I'm not certain. It doesn't sound like a good deity. Mikabashi is not a nice deity, but it is necessary nonetheless. Without night, the sun would burn the world. More than one traveler thanked Mikabashi when the stars indicated the direction to follow. Mikabashi is a pillar of the natural order, as loathsome and domineering as it is. I personally hate it, but it is filling a role that has to be filled. This still leaves Kakuzu. Makoto interrupted Yugito's mental discussion with the Nibi, there's still time to catch him. Anbu, we will track him. He killed my son, and I will pay him back with fire and lightning. As you wish, Captain. But what about Kakashi? Yugito asked. Kenta isn't going to die without a fight, and they need. Makoto cut her with a raised hand. Reinforcements are on their way, she started. Surely, the yellow flash will be better help than all of us put together. Yugito had nothing to say against that. Then Kakuzu is OU.
She saw him.
Watching from the shadows, behind brushes. A man with a fox mask. His eyes were blue and red, and devoid of warmth. For a second, they crossed gazes. Then the ghost vanished into the wild without a word.
Kakashi.
The world was dark, and Obito was waiting in front of a bright campfire. Oh boy, Kakashi, you're a mess. He hadn't changed at all, after all these years. 12 years old, raven-haired, with one eye and a cheerful smile. And you're so late. Picked up that habit from you, Kakashi replied, upon sitting at his friend's left. So, I'm dead. Funny, I wanted to die for so long, and now my prayers are fulfilled when I want to live. Is there any logic here? Karma is a sadist. Obito grinned. But no, you're not dead. You're 3/4 dead. Of course, you will be 4/4 dead if you don't get up. If that happens, then the best anyone can do with your body is search your pockets for loose change. He gave him a thumb up and a shining nice guy smile, a la made a guy. I decided to pay you a visit, my rival. You come often enough to my grave, I should return the loyalty.
You saw me.
You own half my sight, of course I saw you. Or maybe you're merely hallucinating, kidding. This might just be the result of some mystical property of the Sharingan that no one knows about. Maybe some of my chakra remains in it and allows this meeting, or we have a spiritual connection, or the brain damage opened your mind. Or you're turning into a flesh-eating idiotic zombie. Or... Kakashi laughed at his friend's antics. I missed you. Yep, you should have been a girl, we would have made a nice couple. Perhaps it will happen, if we reincarnate. Obito and Kyuri, united by the red string of fate, undying friendship, and one bloody Sharingan. The Uchiha became serious. But it's not time for that yet. Kakashi nodded silently. Can I ask you a question? Do you hate me, for failing you? To be honest, I did once, back when we were alive. Obito smiled sadly. How couldn't I? You were the genius to my failure. Sensei respected you more than me and Rin loved you even though you were a jerk. The village worshipped the ground you walked on no matter what a colossal bastard you were. You made to Junin. Me, I was a joke, in your shadow, and in everybody's shadow. How could I have not hated you? You were everything I wanted to be and didn't even care. When you left Rin to the Iwa Nin, I hated you more than I ever hated anyone. The words were harsh and painful. However, Obito wasn't over. When you came to help, my opinion changed. I realized you weren't a total bastard and considered us friends. I gave you my Sharingan as a token of our friendship. I died happy. I let Rin die. I left my sensei's son alone and he died too. I failed you so many times I lost count. You made Rin happy. It's Kenta's fault if she died, not yours. Sensei's son, he will rest in peace when Madara is dead once and for all. I believe he will forgive you then. As for your failures, you made up for them 10 times over. The Uchiha shook hands with him. You never failed me, my friend. The hand was warm, and the heat made Kakashi feel better. Obito kept talking. Someday, we will be reunited again. You, me, Rin, and perhaps Sensei if the Shinigami ever releases him. Not today. Now wake up. Kill the bastard. Find your new family. Defeat Madara once and for all. And live your life to the fullest. Understood?
Yes.
Kakashi Hatake opened his eyes. Obito, Kamui whispered, the Susanoo manifesting around him. I will show you, that our friendship shall conquer all. Rocks were tossed aside as the white armor emerged. Kakashi stood up, his counterpart and Rin laying at his sides. You're alright, he asked as the ethereal being finished manifesting. The spiritual samurai raised its sword and silently roared in the middle of the ruins. The castle was nothing more than broken bricks and rocks. It had utterly collapsed. The ANBU's Ninken were nowhere to be seen. They had probably returned to their land upon being hit by debris. Kenta's summon, however, hadn't vanished. It was observing the trio from afar under the trees. The eyes conveyed a mix of displeasure and killing intent. The predator was watching the prey, ready to kill them anytime. Yeah, we're fine. The Anbu raised his head and glanced at the colossal dog. Your master is dead, there is no point in fighting us. The hound snorted, and started talking with a deep, grumpy voice. I have been tasked to kill you and have been offered 100 sacrifices to do so. I have been paid. I have been summoned. I will kill you. The beast widened its maw, and launched a blast of fire at them. Kamui reacted quickly, shielding his friends with the Susanoo. The armor stopped the attack, but not the heat. The Konoha nin's arm was rendered useless and covered in burns and wounds that bled profusely. I have known better odds, he thought, charging forward towards the beast despite his condition. The Susanoo's sword drew near of the hound's neck, but the collar shielded the monster's skin. The dog in turn headbutted the armor before savagely biting the torso. The fangs buried past the ethereal armor and stopped within an inch of Kamui's head. A fireball and kunai equipped with explosive tags hit the monster's eye. The ensuing inferno resulted into a bloody mess and the beast shrieked. Kamui briefly glanced behind him. His counterpart was making hand seals, and Rin had taken over her husband's equipment, strapping kunai with tags. Focusing on the beast, the World Wanderer mentally ordered the Susanoo to attack. The hound's back was pierced with a swing of its blade, shedding thick black blood. The creature roared, tightened its hold on the armor, and pushed it back within feet of the Anbu. Then, it opened its mouth, perhaps to fire a new blast. A projectile hit its head. The result was both astonishing and terrifying. A vortex of winds formed around the monster, blades of air shredding his skin and flesh and bones. The beast screamed in pain as the technique destroyed its body along with the landscape. 10 seconds later, the typhoon calmed, and the creature vanished into smoke. Risenshuriken, said a blond man upon leaping in front of the amazed trio. Minato Namikaze smiled, upon seeing they were all safe. Azanagi have mercy, I made it on time. Minato-sensei, the three ninjas whispered at the same time. The man nodded, and stared at the Susanoo. He recognized the face and smiled sadly. I see, even from beyond the grave, you keep an eye on us, don't you, Obito? He whispered, as the armor vanished. You need medical attention. My men are taking care of Kenta's bodyguards in the forest, and I will join you later, Kakashi said, glancing at the ruins. I have one last thing to do. Rin glanced at him in worries. You look about to collapse anytime, surely it can. The Anbu put a hand on her shoulder. I think I know what he wants to do, and it's something he has to do on his own. She looked ready to disagree, but a brief nod from her husband made her relent. Minato glanced at Kamui and tossed him one of his special kunai. I will come to pick you up once I've dealt with Kenta's men, he said, grabbing the Anbu in Rin's forearms. In a blink, they vanished. With what was left of his chakra, Kamui summoned the Susanoo and proceeded to get rid of the debris. After a few minutes, he found who he was looking for. Still alive? He asked, as Kenta's eyes glared at him with undiluted, intense hate. You're harder to kill than a cockroach. Is it the Uzumaki healing factor that keeps you from passing on? Or sheer spite? I made you, the man whispered, unable to move. You exist, because I wished it, and you will end, when I demand it. Tsukumo Hatake made me. Minato Namikaze made me. Obito Uchiha, most of all, made me. Kakashi narrowed his eyes. You will die here, defeated and forgotten. The man groaned, and the copy nin stared at his hand. For all your talk about bonds being a weakness, in the end, you relied on others. You were weak and needed others' work and abilities to keep up with me. The power I have, it has been granted to me. I earned it, and I have enough chakra to show you, the power of my bonds. The Susanoo raised its hand.
Chidori! No one.
The man waited until Kakashi Hatake had left to emerge from the earth. He was as silent as a ghost, a shadow among ruins. Taking a short moment to observe the nearby damage, he wondered what to think of this event. Two Kakashi at the same time was a bit too much for his liking. Had one of them stepped out of the breach and fled to this world? Strange. Kabuto assured me the breach was very new, he thought. Could they be? This scouting mission had been more interesting than he thought. He wondered how the warlord would react to the news. Better not think about him, the man decided, remembering the dark chambers, the screams, and the scent of burning flesh. That old geezer must be wishing he was dead already. What did the warlord say? Ah yes, I find human suffering therapeutic. You should try, it will do wonders for you.
Psychopath.
The man approached Kenta's body and kicked it. As expected, he didn't react. Kakashi had wisely targeted the head and reduced it to a spectacular red mess. Not that it mattered. The mad scientists would dissect the corpse for all it was worth. Be thankful, I have seen what they do to living subjects, he mused. It's not pretty.
Minato Namikaze.
The sun shined brightly during Tsunade's and Itachi's funeral. Either the heavens were rejoicing or making fun of the poor mortals. In either case, Minato cursed them. It should rain, there should be thunder, there should tempests. There should be chaos. There should be a sign, anything, that these two were missed by the world. The sun shined brighter. Half of Konoha attended the funeral. The Uchiha clan as a whole honored their prodigy, and most family heads came to pay their respects to the last Senju. Makoto had tears in her eyes during the entire ordeal, and Minato, secrecy be damned, hugged her in front of everyone. The survivors of the Rin Rescue Team, as they had been nicknamed, were all present as well. In the end, most left. Obito left with his mother and father, and after one last glance at her lover, Makoto took her remaining son away. Minato and his son remained alone, in front of Itachi's empty tomb. The Yondaime started. I will make him pay. Naruto raised his head, with righteous fury in his eyes. I will find Itachi-sensei's killer, and I will kill him. Minato's nightmares returned at full speed, but this time, he wasn't dreaming. The eyes he feared so much were right in front of him, on his own son's face. Son, it's not your son, he asked with anger. Now you remember I exist. On my sensei's grave. Minato felt as if he had been slapped. Itachi-sensei was more of a father to me than you ever were. The boy snapped in anger. For a second, his father mistook Naruto's shadow for Madara's. I grew up with him, whereas you were never here. Always putting your work before me. I have every right to kill that bastard, I deserve it. Minato silenced his son with a hug. Naruto gasped. The Yondaime tightened his grip. I'm a terrible father, aren't I? I promise it will change. Kakuzu will be brought to justice and Itachi will rest in peace, but not by you. I won't let you waste any moment of your life on pointless, sterile revenge. Or else I would prove Madara right. From now on, I will be at your side. And I will not leave it.
Kamui.
It was strange to see his counterpart occupying the Hokage's seat. You face the god I'm Hokage. Tread carefully. The Anbu Kakashi laughed at his own sentence. I don't even sound terrifying. Seriously, if an emissary wants to see me, I'm so screwed. You're a perfect substitute for the Yondaime Hokage, his counterpart reassured him. You can survive sensei taking a week off. Minato had decided to take some vacations with his son and Makoto, for a change, and put his student in charge. I tried so many times to have him spend time with his family, I should shut up and accept it, the Anbu told himself. His affair became more or less public knowledge after the funeral, and Naruto is happier than I have ever seen him. We only need Kakuzu's head and everything will be fine, well, almost. The man sighed sadly. Sasuke lost a brother, Obito and Naruto a sensei. They will need all the support we can give, but their parents will help them overcome their loss. Kamui nodded. Still nothing on Kakuzu's whereabouts. It has been a few days, give us time. He eluded pursuits for Amaterasu knows how long, it will take time to locate him. We will kill him, just not today. The Anbu crossed his arms. I've got to thank you. Maybe would you need something? Expensive vacations, Ika, whatever you like. You thanked me 24 times, I counted. Kamui chuckled. Believe me, saving Rin was a reward in itself, in more ways than you can imagine. Seeing you happy makes me happy. Alright, but allow me to offer you at least one material, tangible reward for your services. The Anbu searched in the Hokage's desk and placed a large tanto on it. The blade was white, and Kamui could feel the power radiating from it. The White Fang's saber? Kamui asked in astonishment upon seizing the pommel. It was as light and beautiful as in his memories. It was destroyed. It was reforged. The Anbu crossed his fingers. I think you deserve it to wield it more than I do. When I saw you fight, I realized you are more than the copy nin, you are the White Fang reborn. And the White Fang deserves a weapon matching his skills. Father's sword, Kamui thought. I once wielded it without understanding its former owner's values and sacrifice. I won't make the same mistake again. This time, I will be worthy of wielding it. Thank you, he said upon taking it with his 2 hands. I promise, Sakuma will be proud, wherever he is. I'm sure he is, the Anbu replied, tossing a sheath at his counterpart. Kamui narrowed his eyes. I have a question, how did you get the Mangekyo? Why is it different from mine? The Anbu's expression darkened. I gained it one night when Rin and I, got busy. His jaw clenched. I had nightmares about the day Obito died, and when I opened my eye, it was bleeding. I realized I had killed Obito, indirectly. Makoto once told me the power of the Sharingan is fueled by pain. The more traumatic the experience is to the user, the more powerful the Mangekyo becomes. I only unlocked a minor ability, whereas you and Makoto unlocked many. I killed Obito and Rin, indirectly, Kamui thought. Madara unlocked perhaps all the powers of the Mangekyo and perfected them. Could it be possible to develop the Sharingan's latent abilities through training? How much can you teleport with the Mangekyo? I saw one of the Madara call a meteor upon us. A meteor? The Anbu's jaw dropped in amazement. Are you kidding? No, I shouldn't be surprised. According to Sensei, our Madara summoned a castle above the United Cage during his last stand. To be honest, nobody understands how he could do this. Simply teleporting the device you saw took a third of my chakra reserves. Madara could teleport entire buildings if he wanted, without much effort. Makoto suggested he found a way to enhance his abilities beyond what should naturally be possible, even for the Sharingan. He uses a pocket dimension, Kamui explained. He captured me and my teammate in it when I fought him for the first time. Is it the same with you? No, when I use the Mangekyo, I teleport objects from one point to another. It's the same way Sensei's technique works, but with no seal and a lot more effort. Kenta's device exploded in Suna's desert. Not in a pocket dimension. The Anbu crossed his arms. There had been multiple cases of Uchiha gaining the eternal Mangekyo through stealing their siblings' eyes, but it only stopped the eyesight from deteriorating. It never allowed them to replicate Madara's feats. It's possible Madara's Sharingan is a unique mutation, like the Mokuden.
Possible?
Some facts surrounding Madara are disturbing, the Anbu whispered. So far, he's the only Uchiha to have ever managed to control the Kyuubi completely. His brother claimed to see visions of the future and went insane from what he saw. The Shadaime and Mito Uzumaki impaled him at the Valley of the End and were convinced the Uchiha Lord was really dead. His surviving men never saw him eat, drink, sleep or use privies during the entire war with Akatsuki. Sensei pretends the face under his mask wasn't human and when the bastard died, he turned into dust, only his clothes and broken mask remaining. He took his breath. You want my theory? Madara didn't die fighting Minato. He died at the Valley of the End, and somehow, his spirit didn't pass in the afterlife, keeping his corpse moving. The cage didn't kill him. They damaged his body so much lingering in the mortal realm had become no longer possible for his malevolent soul. Kamui's blood chilled in his veins. You think Madara is an undead? A ghost? In Iowa's folklore, there is a story about a dying sorcerer from the time of the Sage of the Sixth Paths that called upon dark forces to escape the Shinigami, in exchange for eternal servitude to the ideal of evil. His soul was placed inside a ring, and although his body decayed and was stabbed 24 times and burned, he kept walking and spreading misery. He was permanently destroyed when the sage had the ring melted into holy fire, releasing his soul. The man's name was wiped out of all memories, and he was fearfully called, the Lich, by the people. The Anbu shrugged. The Sandaime summoned the Shinigami itself to seal the Kyuubi, and if reports were right, Hidan did the same with the freaking god of carnage. Is it hard to imagine Madara called something to gain power? Perhaps was he a lich and his soul was destroyed with his mask, or maybe a being taught him how to cheat death for some obscure reason. This was worrying and sounded insane, but the more Kamui thought about it, the more some things made sense. Madara never slowed down when he fought us. In our battles, he endured attacks that would have killed anyone else. If you're right, Sensei proved Madara wasn't invincible. He's just tougher than most, the understatement of the century, but he can be destroyed permanently if hit hard enough. Perhaps the Shinigami will be interested in his delinquent soul, if summoned. Kamui pondered his next course of action. Could you give me all the information Konoha compiled about Madara? Of course. It would be a pleasure. Upon exiting the Hokage office, Kamui crossed path with Rin. The woman smiled upon recognizing him. Kamui-san, I was looking for you, she said. I would like to thank you for saving my life, and helping my husband. If I can do anything. Kamui smirked. Can you give me a banjo? A banjo. Her surprise was obvious. I once played it, before I started my travels. I don't know, I want to give a new breath to my life. Try new things, enjoy myself. This mission freed me from a heavy burden. I feel revitalized. He chuckled. So yes, I want to start a hobby beyond killing, training and fighting. Someone told me to live my life to the fullest, and I will. Rin laughed. Somehow, it made Kakashi even happier. Alright, she whispered, I think it can be arranged. At her laugh, Kamui knew he had earned his happy ending.
Yugito.
Tiger dragon snake monkey. Lightning flowed through her fingers, which in turn shined with electricity. Direct contact would stun the enemy, maybe damage organs if used well. How long can I maintain the flow? Depends on your control, Mei shrugged, standing on the hot bath's water. I would suggest repeating the jutsu while you walk on water. It would speed up your training and teach you to focus on multiple elements on the battlefield. Good idea. It had been kind of Mei to train with her. The Kiri Nin wanted to break from the monotony of her work as ambassador, and Yugito needed to get stronger. She wouldn't let anyone come within an inch of killing her like Hidan, ever again. Versatility is my main weak point. Do you have any water techniques to teach me? You teach me some of Kumo's jutsu and I would gladly expand your repertoire. Mei smiled. You're a Kaden master already, so I would suggest Suiten and Raiden. The first for defense, the second for precision. Your Biju provides you with all the firepower necessary. See, she thinks I'm awesome. Yugito. A voice shouted from outside the hot baths. Both women blinked, upon recognizing Kakashi's voice. I need to speak to you. It's about world traveling. Give me a second, she replied, I need to get dressed. Would you mind if I listen to your conversation? Mei asked loudly. Your whole story never ceases to entertain me. You're welcome, Kakashi replied. 5 minutes later, fully dressed Yugito and Mei walked out of the hot springs. Kakashi was waiting outside, a banjo in hands, with Minato Namikaze, and a big scroll. Aren't you supposed to be on a vacation? The blonde narrowed her eyes at the copy nin's instrument. What is that? Hataki's only answer was to try playing it, and although he wasn't bad, his skills were at best average. I'm a shadow clone, the Yondaime shrugged. The original tasked me to work on your problems, and I may have found a solution. He pointed a finger at the scroll. This is the Forbidden Scroll of Konoha, which compiles our kinjutsu or most dangerous techniques. The best of the best keep it safe. We have something similar in Kiri, May noted. Although the Shadaime Mizukage preferred having it take the shape of a dozen books to avoid seeing the entirety of our knowledge destroyed in a single blow. Interesting idea, the shadow clone commented upon opening the scroll. This, he said upon touching a text detailed with illustrations of hand signs, is a space-time ninjutsu the Nadaime Hokage, Tobarama Senju, developed as a distant prototype of my Hiraishin. Yugito narrowed her eyes in interest. The idea was to enter some dimensional void, and reappear elsewhere, ignoring distances. Tests however resulted in objects never appearing again. Tobarama suggested they had reappeared, elsewhere. Beyond the mortal plane. Another world, Kakashi guessed. This is a dimensional transport technique. The Nadaime never understood where he sent objects, but your existence implies he sent them to alternate realities without realizing it. Unfortunately, he sacrificed himself before he could complete the technique, and although I based my signature jutsu on the idea, the theory behind it is entirely different. No one attempted to complete his work, until now. Give me a few days, and I might give you a way to get out of this world. You can send us back to our respective worlds? Yugito asked, astonished. Unfortunately no, said the shadow clone, crushing her hopes. If what I have been told is true, there may be a billion worlds in existence. The chances of being transported to the world you want to reach are akin to zero. However, there is a way around it. Namikaze smiled. I vaguely understand how this Kazama's power works. You two have been exposed to his otherworldly chakra when he teleported you, so your bodies contain some residue. If I tweak the jutsu, this residue will be attracted to its source. And we will teleport wherever Kazama is, Kakashi finished with a smile under his mask. But what if he's dead? May suggested. Or in a demonic hellhole? The shadow clone's lack of answer told it all. Finally, he opened his mouth again. No one's forcing you to go. You can remain in this village if you wish, both of you would be welcome. Konoha is a nice place to live in, I will make sure your stay is comfortable, and you have made friends here. It would be a pleasure, but I will pass sensei. Kakashi crossed his arms. I know I would be happy here, but the truth is, my group needs me more than this world does. Madara is still out there, and if he ever gets his hands on Kazama, the consequences will be terrible. I have to protect him and the rest of my loved ones. He seemed to smirk under his mask. I am a proud member of the Arashi clan, Minato-sensei. My place is at their side. They might be dead, but I must take the risk. The Yondaime nodded. I understand. He glanced at Yugito. And you? Truth to be told, it was a difficult question, and the Nibi's vessel stayed silent. On one hand, the operation was very, very risky, and this Konoha didn't look like a bad place where to spend the rest of her days. On the other hand, Kazama was the only person able to send her back to her homeworld. But do you wish to return home? The Nibi asked. Kumo will not welcome you with open arms, kitten. You associated yourself with your leader's assassins, betrayed the country. I fear what awaits you here is an executioner's axe. The Nibi was probably right, and Yugito was painfully aware of it. How could she explain surviving the vault crashing onto the land? Or leaving Kakashi alive? Kumo's interrogators were frighteningly efficient at obtaining the truth. Killer Bee might forgive her, but the populace would be out for her blood. But then, what could she do? Abandon her former life and join Konoha? The place was too different from Kumo, and she was a stranger. She might make a name for herself, but Yugito would always be seen differently from native ninjas. And to be honest, she had grown fond of some members of the Arashi clan. Naruto, the troubled Gaara, the kind Haku, and as much as she disliked it, she had grown to respect Kakashi himself. They're in danger, and if I want to return to Kumo anyway, Kazama is my only hope. I will join Kakashi, she finally decided. Truly, May smirked. Then, I guess I will have to follow you. She chuckled at everyone's shocked face. Honestly, ever since I've been with you, my life has become crazy. Fighting a super-powered bounty hunter and a god-summoning maniac, meeting people with exceptional abilities, and you're about to go fight Madara Uchiha himself, that's insane, dangerous, and exciting. Way better than my boring job. You realize we might not return, or die? Kakashi asked, amazed. Better die on the battlefield doing something meaningful, than in your bed after a wasted life, she replied. You need manpower to defeat Madara, don't you? I will gladly provide it. I would be glad if you were to join us, Yugito said, but wouldn't Kiri be asking questions about your disappearance? Mizukage-sama knows me, the woman smirked playfully. I will inform him I'm resigning from active duties and walking the earth. He was expecting such an action anyway. Wherever I go or do is my problem. Who knows, I might find a pretty boy or two on the way. Yugito beamed with joy. It will be an honor fighting at your side. Me too, Kakashi nodded, playing a new note with his banjo. Then, I wish you goodbye, the Yondaime's clone said. Yugito stopped him dead on tracks. I have a question, Hokage-sama, she asked. What about the man I saw in the forest? The one with the fox mask. The Yondaime adopted an uneasy expression. My men found nothing, and there hasn't been any case of an Anbu seen with a fox mask. It could be the agent of a foreign nation, one of Kenta's men, or perhaps even someone working with Kakuzu. In any case, it's not your problem, but ours. I guess it is, Yugito whispered. But his eyes. She had seen them somewhere. Meanwhile, inside a bounty station. Nice catch, the man commented upon taking Itachi's corpse, exchanging it for a large sum of money Kakuzu proceeded to count. Do you always have to do that? Oh, I trust you, the bounty hunter lied through his teeth. However, you might have lost 1 or 2 ryo along the way. If you did, Money-sama will devour your cheating soul and cast it down into a hell, where everyone is poor. He blinked. I see you added Tsunade's bounty. The news of her death reached me this morning. Good job, but, where is your partner? Got caught by Hunter Nins. It had to happen. Kakuzu promised himself to honor the day he got rid of this psychotic idiot from now on. I'm not unhappy to have him gone. He was a thorn under my foot. I work better as a loner. He started to pray. Money-sama, thank you for the wonderful gift that is Hidan's permanent death. I feel revitalized in my greediness. I will sacrifice a dozen beggars on your altar this week. Sacrificing beggars. When you kill the poor, you reduce poverty, and everyone is richer. Hence, Money-sama will be content. Interesting solution, a deep voice commented, to reduce poverty. Kakuzu raised his head and glanced sideways. 2 men were sitting around a table, playing a game of chess. One was a small man wearing a cloak made of flayed fox skin. His face was hidden under a kitsune mask, white with black lines for the eyes and nose. He had raven hair, and his mismatched blue and red eyes were cold, devoid of warmth and joy. He had a ring on his left hand's index finger, with the kanji, wind, written on it. You made the right choice in fleeing. The Yondaime was royally pissed upon discovering what happened to the Uchiha. I can see why. He reacted that way when I covered his baby with explosive tags. The second was man in his 30s, wearing a black jacket, dark pants and red gloves. He had short black hair, with unremarkable black eyes, and the right side of his face horribly disfigured by scars. He was smiling, although his eyes weren't. He had a red ring on his right hand's middle finger, with the kanji, moon, on it. Maybe I can kill him again. Toby is a good boy. Toby is a bad boy. The masked man stared at Kakuzu. I've watched your latest fight with great interest. The strength, the speed, the ferocity. It was entertaining. Some would call you a coward for fleeing, but I say you're a smart man. And we need people with brains. Kakuzu's eyebrow twitched. Who are you, weirdos? The guy here is called Toby, but, no one, is fine too. My mother called me Naruto Uzumaki, but I disagreed. Vehemently. The masked man touched the queen piece and shattered it with his fingers. You can call me, Menma. Toby grinned. We were wondering if you were looking for a job.
Meanwhile, in another universe,
it couldn't end this way. Alpha believed it with all her heart. She might be imprisoned. The seals on her skin might prevent her from using her powers. She might have lost her army. But she was deeply convinced that, although she lost the battle, she would win the war. The former dictator had spent days imprisoned. After Orochimaru and his men had defeated her and destroyed everything she loved. In Alpha's mind, it was only a matter of time before her archenemy was deposed. After all, she had brought peace and order to this chaotic hellhole, and the citizens of Utopia were happy. Orochimaru would bring nothing more than anarchy and inequality. I might die, Alpha thought. He might abandon me to rot in these cells to die, or he might execute me, or bury me alive, and it doesn't matter. My death will be the beginning. I taught the clones well. They will carry on my vision, and realize my dream, long after I'm gone. Utopia, a world where everyone can be happy. A world that 5 died for. Those little girl's words resonated in Alpha's mind, seeding doubts in her heart. Could this Haku have been right? After all, the dictator had overlooked 5's mental problems. She had tried to cure his insanity and physical deficiencies, but without success. His death was written in his bones, and the best she could do for the clone had been to give him a purpose in his empty life. It's their fault if he died, she concluded to herself. Everything went to hell when they arrived. If they hadn't come, 5 would be alive, Utopia would still be standing, and Orochimaru would be fearfully hiding under his hole. They ruined everything. The regrets she had felt days ago had turned into pure anger. Alpha had been sorry her men died for nothing and turned into charred bones. She had lacked the strength of will to control the 10 tails and her garden paid the price for it. In that regard, she was guilty and couldn't deny it, but she would never have retorted to those measures if not for those filthy anarchists. Alpha had wisely knelt in surrender, trying to save what she could. It's only when you kneel that you can rise again, Beta had told her once, before the genetic illness and insanity claimed him years ago, so if our masters try to surrender after we cast them down, I suggest we kill them all. Then we must kill their descendants so they won't rise in vengeance. When everyone's dead, no one will rise at all. Let us rule a world of bones, as long as we rule in the end. A lesson the snake had yet to understand. Alpha's men would bid their time and revolt in her name or in others. The people will cast down these anarchists and beg for the return of order and peace. I will have the last laugh, Orochimaru, she promised herself. What was the worth of the few who died as the foundations of a world of genuine empathy? It was at that moment she heard the explosion. The cell shook, and Alpha struggled not to fall. Screams were heard, and the scent of burned flesh reached her nose. Were her men trying to free her? After 1 minute of silence and questioning, the door of Alpha's cell was shattered and someone walked into view. The dictator's face beamed with hope, and then incomprehension. Expecting someone else, Lady Despot. It was a small, thin blonde kid of about 13 years, with blonde hair and shiny blue eyes. He had white paint over his face, and was wearing a red and purple jester outfit. His aspect was grotesque, and the smile on his face was creepy. He was wielding an iron mace, red with fresh blood. I'm hurt. Your proud knight has come to save you. Sir Naruto and his weapon Skullkisser. She kissed a dozen heads to meet yours. As Alpha prepared to stand for her life, a new voice interrupted. A good tyrant might be a dead tyrant, Kahai, but I promised our new friend she would be free and unharmed. Well, unharmed enough to be able to answer questions at the bar minimum. It was an androgynous man, with long blonde hair and blue eyes. He was wearing a black trench coat, gloves, and boots. He had a black ring with the kanji, ether, on his left hand's little finger, and was carrying a blue rose within his fingers. He hummed to it, Katsu. Nothing can match the smell of freedom in the morning, milady. You will learn to appreciate it. Ah, just a little kiss, senpai, I want to put a smile on her unfunny face. The jester's smile turned predatory. A big red grin. Alpha narrowed her eyes, attempting to remember who was that guy, which division he belonged. Who are you? She finally asked. What is your number? Who sent you? Nah, Deidara Senpai and his trusty sidekick Sir Naruto are the real deal, not mimes. The jester caressed Skullkisser. People were unhappy, so I made them laugh, and they taught us some funny jokes. And then died tragically. Sniff. We were told you met some world-traveling men on your way to this cell. Deidara smiled cheerfully. Is that the truth? Of course she did. A familiar voice complained. The dictator's face beamed with genuine joy as 3 walked into the cell, her fists burning. Alpha-sama, are you all right? Good to see you again, my disciple. The former ruler kissed her second in command on the cheek. I was afraid they had executed you. These 2 broke me out early enough. It had been difficult to locate you, but that clown is as convincing as 5 was. 3 narrowed her eyes. Alpha-sama, you must come with us. The fight is not over. There is still a chance to rebuild Utopia. The woman in white nodded. We can convince the people to rise against their oppressor. Surely they will. They won't. Deidara smiled. Don't you hear them? The songs of the old and the young. Freemen are acclaiming this snake sage, savior of the universe, champion of freedom, defender of the many and hero for all. Half the men want to be him, all the women want to be with him, and the clones that aren't executed or on the run welcome their new boss with open arms. We do not live on the same planet, milady. Here, no one but the mad wants you back. Oh, that's a problem, and Sir Naruto has the solution. The jester grinned madly at Alpha's furious facial expression. You come with us, and you return. With steel and fire. Alpha narrowed her eyes in suspicion. Where are we going? She asked. But to my partners of course, Deidara smiled sarcastically. They will be very interested in what you have to say.
Omake.
Money-sama attacks. Summoning Jashin. Bah, I will summon the one god that matters. Kakuzu shouted. Money-sama, come forth. A halo of light surrounded the bounty hunter, and a floating, giant banknote appeared above him. Money-sama has arrived. What is the matter, honored greedy man? Money-sama, I need your help. Kakuzu pointed a finger at his opponents. They all owe me 1 million ryo and they refuse to pay. Sinners. Faithless filth. Money-sama declared in righteous anger. By the will of the holy greed, you will pay your debt. Face the ultimate technique of all times. Ninja lawyers. Out of nowhere, dozens upon dozens of kunai-wielding lawyers appeared, crushed all the surprised Konoha nin, and took them away. Hidan was seized by the arms. Hey Kakuzu, what the hell are you doing? Hold on. That one's different Money-sama, Kakuzu started, and for a split second, the priest thought he was saved, until he heard the bounty hunter's next words. He owes me 1 billion ryo. Bastard! Hidan shouted as he was dragged away, kicking and screaming. Everywhere the forces of altruism, goodness, and generosity will threaten the corrupt and the greedy, Money-sama will be here to fight them. The god shined brightly. And remember the moral. Lawyers are good, but ninjas' lawyers are better. On Sleepy Asian's demand, here is a little chart.
Chapter 35.
The road to badass. If I knew my son would have blonde hair, well, at least he has my face. Kushina's reaction was unexpected, and if Minato's frustrated expression was anything to go by, he didn't appreciate it. It was quite easy to see who was wearing the pants in the relationship. If Namikaze was the same as he was in their last confrontation, Kushina was different from the illusion her son had met in waves. Kushina was a beautiful woman, with a fair skin and long hair as red as tomatoes. Her blue eyes conveyed an aura of seriousness and nobility, and her smile some joy in her life. She was wearing a Junin uniform, hardly hiding the fact she was in the early terms of her pregnancy. She's like I used to be, Kazama thought, smiling to ease the pain. But, she's different, wiser. I didn't choose my genes. He offered them seats around Hanzo's table. Somebody, Conan perhaps, had left herbal tea and glasses for the 3 of them. Want some? I will pass, Kushina said upon sitting. You're not like I imagined. You expected something else. Sorry to disappoint, he replied with light sarcasm. Well, I expected someone whose eyes were stars and his hair a halo of light, his mother countered with the same merry tone. And horns. And a fiery sword. And wings. Konoha nins keep gossiping about your appearance. I was expecting someone more impressive looking. You would be surprised by how impressive I can be. She simply had to see past these walls. Kazama had done his best to try repairing the damage caused by the Sanbi, and mobilized everybody in town, but half the hidden village was still in ruin. Why did Konoha send you? To appraise me. You prevented an invasion of our land. Is it so surprising we want to thank you? Minato shrugged. You challenged Hanzo in combat 10 minutes after he and Yagura declared their intent to invade the Land of Fire. You prevented the war from escalating further. A move you did not see coming. Kazama took some tea. He didn't particularly enjoy it, but it was good for his nerves. Since you're here, Minato, I would like to ask you a question. Why was Yagura allowed to live this long? Surely, as a paragon of goodness, you should have been the one to strike him down instead of me. Here they were. The real reason he wanted to speak with these two instead of sending Madara or Konan. Minato locked eyes with him. He was the head of a foreign nation. His assassination would have changed the balance of power, and his rule crippled Kiri, preventing it from being a true threat to the mainland on its own. Nobody saw his alliance with Hanzo coming, and your actions have changed the status quo. For the betterment Kiri, but not for you. As Madara expected, Yagura's supporters had been quickly exterminated as soon as the news of his demise reached the island, and the Seven Swordsmen had taken over the country, ending most of the Mizukage's insane laws and enforcing peace with an iron fist. According to the Uchiha Lord, Zabuza Momochi would probably be chosen as Godime Mizukage. The irony wasn't lost on the blonde. To think I helped my first major enemy to achieve his dream. The hidden mist would recover from the damage caused by Yagura and inevitably regain its former glory under the saner administration. Which wasn't good for Konoha, as a strong Kiri was a threatening Kiri. I see. So if, for example, I were to go outside, like, in 1-2 minutes, and slaughter kids on a whim, you would leave me in charge. My death would cause the region to be destabilized, maybe allow Iwa to take it over. Konoha wouldn't care about that. The couple's shocked expression aside, Minato's silence told it all. Kazama sighed, and started the speech he had mentally prepared in the last hours. No, you wouldn't do anything. You won't move. You won't do a thing. You would stand and watch as another Yagura massacres children he doesn't consider strong enough to live. You will close your eyes when Iwa destroys a minor country nobody cares about. You will talk, you will preach peace and love to monsters, but you won't do a thing when they make the world a sicker place than it is, because it would allow the majority to live in a happiness built on the misery of the minorities and underdogs. For all your talk about making the world a better place, you're what? 30. I was told you graduated at 10. You had 20 years to make a difference. I've been here for a week, and in one afternoon, I deposed 2 murderous despots. It looks like my methods paid off better than yours. Minato narrowed his eyes and clenched his jaw, but let his son continue. And you know why you are so inefficient? Kazama asked. It is because you never struggled, Namikaze. You're born a winner. You are incredibly gifted for everything but common sense. You had parents, a teacher that supported you, friends, people to rely on, instead of enemies to impair your progresses and avoid in your heart born of eternal loneliness. Villagers worship the ground you walk on, instead of mistrusting and cursing you. You have a loving wife, a peaceful life, not an existence of pain and despair. You never faced loss, or the negative results of your actions. Everything went along smoothly. You never knew what it is to live in fear and hopelessness, to have the universe spit on your face. You speak about others' pain, without understanding it. Suffering is a word for you, and a reality for the rest of us. Kushina looked away and silently took some herbal tea. Me. I used to be a nobody with a curse. A slacker, a mere genin with no future, and a head full of misplaced idealism. People disliked me. I was the outcast, the orphan born to suffer for the crimes committed by others. I could have lived my whole in obscurity, a failure. I fought one last battle and was betrayed by one of my own comrades. I should have died by the enemy's hand, as much as my former friends. Through sheer luck, I did not. When I awoke, I did not realize I had been reborn. The child called Naruto Uzumaki had shed its skin like the snake he failed to kill, and grown into the one you call Kazama Arashi. A fool, I have ceased to be. A nobody, I am no longer. Now, I am a living nightmare. The last word wasn't Kazama's own. The dark voice had whispered it through his lips. I earned my power through training, mental tortures, facing monsters, groveling at the feet of my archenemy, and dealing with abominations beyond human understanding, the Amekage snapped bitterly. I was humiliated, broken, restrained, captured, harmed, mentally assaulted by monsters, yet, I rose up. I did not give up, and I will never surrender. And this is what makes me strong. I can, and will, go farther than you. I have seen men reach new heights of depravity every day, and the new generation repeat the mistakes of the old one. I fought the world my entire life, and after years of endless victories, the world has started losing. He extended his arms in a broad gesture. Look beyond these walls, Namikaze, and tell me what you see. A world of tears and blood, a world you help maintain by not doing what needs to be done. Aim and Kiri were hellish realms, and I changed, and will change, them for the better. Love didn't bring this land peace, like the will of fire pretends. It's fear from an uncorrupted source. I didn't free Kiri by convincing Yagura to kiss people's feet in repentance. I did it by impaling his rotten heart in revenge for a fallen friend. It's the spiral of revenge you despise that freed Kurigakure from a tyrant, and it didn't end with forgiveness, but with swift, merciless justice. That's how you end feuds. By bringing balance through strength. The yellow flash's jaw dropped in a mix of surprise and horror, as Kazama jabbed a kunai on the table. This is the truth of mankind, Minato. It's not right which makes might, as I learned painfully, but might which makes right. The rules won't change, for they're the very nature of humanity. The Hokage are mere puppets for the people. If they say one child has to live forever as a scapegoat and outcast, even if it is your own, you will do nothing, because you obey the will of the people, even when it goes against what is morally right. Me. Aim is terrified of me. They don't respect me, they worship me. I am not a cage, Minato. Within these frontiers, I am the new god. Kazama sighed bitterly. And this how it should be. People should be afraid of their rulers, not the other way around. Power in itself is neither good nor evil, it's a tool, like this kunai. Peace isn't brought by love, or moral preaching, but by a strong authority that isn't afraid to defy the will of the majority, should the majority be in the wrong. Peace is enforced through will, through superior might, through an iron fist. Minato looked ready to reply something, but his son wasn't over. You remember the words I said when we talked the first time? The older blonde reluctantly nodded. They were the words of a whiner. I was thinking how doomed and sick the world is, but lately, I've realized, the visionary does not see how the world truly is, simply how it should be. I have ceased to lament on my fate, childhood, whatever childish, immature thoughts I had, for I focus on the future now. And when Aim bowed to me in awe, when I saw thousands kneel before me, I understood what I had to do. The duty I had to fulfill. I am the solution to their hopeless life, and I will offer them a better future. Kazama intertwined his fingers in front of his face and leaned forward. I used to be egoistical. I won't deny it. I only cared about myself and my loved ones, walking forward and closing my eyes on the hellhole surrounding me. I pretended to be better than you and others only to justify my selfishness, and feed my ego. I talked about destroying the many to save the few people worthy of living, before I realized, it was just a way to deny my own weaknesses, a lazy way to escape my responsibilities. There is something beyond the few and the many, the worthy and the unworthy. There is a bigger picture, a duty to live up to destroy evil wherever it takes its roots, and to improve this rotten universe through all means necessary. He shrugged his shoulders. I gained power, and will make a virtuous use of it. I will bring true order and justice to the multiverse, no matter the price. I will serve monsters steel and fire, not sentimental speeches. I will end the cycle of revenge not through empty love, but through fear and might. I reject the greater good, and I answer with the greater cause. Happiness built on injustices isn't worth it. I would rather have a million people unhappy than sacrifice one innocent life without his or her consent, unlike you. At that last line, Minato had recovered enough to retaliate. You did not fix this world. You took over a country and instead of giving power back to the people having suffered under Hanzo, you kept it as your own. Yes, he hissed. And with that power, I will create a better Omegakure where no innocent will ever lose a loved one, because some random psychopath was allowed to run free for too long by the greater nations. Then, I will create a world where no one will be discriminated against because they have a bloodline or are too weak to survive. I will create a world where no child will be used as a sacrifice for an ungrateful town and live the life of an outcast because destiny said so. I will create a world where all wrongs are avenged, and where bastards will be punished. I will create a world where minorities won't be oppressed by majorities, where nations do not fight for stupid, pointless wars, where the weak won't be oppressed, but protected by the strong. If being like you won't bring this vision to life, then I'm done with pretending to be a paragon of goodness. I may be branded a tyrant, but if an iron fist is needed to make this tragic universe a better place, so be it. The Omekage raised his hand, and made an oath. I, Kazama Arashi, make this vow, I am to become justice. I devote my life to this ideal and swear to live up to it, on my blade. I shall be the unrelenting sword, the merciless axe. I shall be the shield of outcasts and misfits, the bane of the corrupt and the wicked. I shall be the champion of the victims, the destroyer of the abusers. I shall be the judge, jury, and the executioner, and bring absolute order through steel and fire. I shall destroy those who stand in my path with the hands of death. I will not compromise on my principles, for to compromise on them is to abandon them. Both his parents could only stare as he continued. I will enforce peace through power, and justice through strength. I will avenge all wrongs done to me and those under my watch, through all means necessary. I will not suffer transgressions to the greater order or those who tolerate them, for to look away is a crime in itself. There is no good and no evil, only an end and means. There are no limits, but the ones I believe in. There is no fate, but the one we make. There is no weakness, only willpower. Kazama Arashi grinned ear to ear. Existence will give up before I do. Once he was finished, he observed his astonished parents. Although Kushina looked more surprised than anything, Minato was downright appalled. One last thing, Kazama said, searching through into his pockets, and bringing out a coin. Heads, I'm kissing everyone in town. Tails, I'm killing as many of them as I can get my hands on until the sun sets. Want to play? I refuse to play your sick game, his father replied with disgust. But you will let the coin decide for you, if it is called destiny. An old amphibian will say he has seen the coin's result, and you will gamble your son's life on it. You will let destiny decide for you. Me, if anyone tells me of this coin, here's what I will do. He deposed the coin on the table, focused chakra in his finger, and melted the coin with fire. Then I may, or may not, do the same with the choice giver. Destiny does not exist. What did this senile toad predict? That some random person will save the world, maybe destroy it. I will say, if I'm that random person, I will do both. I will save those deserving salvation, and destroy those who are beyond it. Out of the ashes of the old world, I will build a new, better one. There is no fate but the one we make, and you would do well to remember that. Why let luck decide for you, when you choose the outcome yourself? He dismissed them with a hand gesture. Now, leave, I have a country to administrate. Be gone. Minato looked ready to reply something, but Kushina put her fingers on his arm, glared at him, and silently made him reconsider. The blonde stared at his son, anger in his eyes, and he vanished with the Hiraishin. It wasn't very nice, what you said, the redhead sighed, but I'm afraid it was necessary. Minato has many qualities, but he is a bit too idealistic for his own good. Cynics live longer. Kazama shrugged. No wonder he got killed so young in my home universe. If what Minato told me is true, your father's interference is what prevented the seal from consuming you, when your Orochimaru sabotaged it. You should be a little less absolute on condemning him. No, the voice had shown him the truth. There are a million realities that had that event where the seal consumed me in spite of his help. I didn't survive because of the Yondaime, but through sheer luck. Even if his interference mattered in the end, it doesn't quite begin to make up for what he did to his own flesh and blood. But here he isn't the man who sacrificed his son. Not yet. Not ever. Kushina took his hand in a gentle manner. Kazama didn't react. Whatever your Kushina did to you, I'm not her. I won't ever be her. I will make certain that Madara, or anyone else, will never come close to hurting my child. And I will not have another go through what I suffered during my own life. I swear the baby in my womb will have a better life than you. Good, he whispered. Please take care of yourself, and bring some sense to his mind. His idealism will cause problems down the line. I'm afraid the realization will come with time. Sarutobi still holds control over much of the war effort, and Minato isn't truly in charge. When he is, then reality shall catch up with him. Kushina smiled. If I was told my son would become a hero and take over an entire country in an afternoon, I would have brushed it off. Kazama couldn't help but chuckle. A hero? Are you kidding? Not at all. Tales of your battle reached all corners of the shinobi world. Imagine. You, a nobody, challenges two of the strongest ninjas in the entire world and kills them both in a battle rivaling the fabled duel between Hashirama Senju and Madara Uchiha. Kiri loves you for bringing down their oppressive ruler, AIM worships the ground you walk on, and thousands across the lands listen in awe when people narrate how you shattered the skies themselves, before bringing thousands back to life. They say you even created a second moon for the show, before pulverizing it. So they attribute Nagato's deeds to me. Kazama thought. It's grossly exaggerated. I have seen the damage AIM suffered, and the area's maps had to be redrawn, Kushina chuckled. However, I assume you didn't come only to follow Minato. He switched subjects. You were miles away. Minato could have seen me on his own and nobody would have been the wiser, no offense. I admit, I have my reasons. Too, in fact. Kushina frowned. You annihilated the Sanbi. Not killed, annihilated. Biju are reborn after a time if they are the former, but the Sanbi won't return, ever. All its siblings and their vessels sensed his destruction across the world, as I did. The Kyuubi is currently screaming, in tears, and begging me to get away from you very fast. The Kyuubi, begging. Whatever the dark power had done, it had left quite the impression. What is it saying? It's calling you many names. The Star of Death, the Darkness, the Devourer, the Evil God, and many other unpleasant titles. It is mainly because of what the Jinchuriki told their respective superiors about you that the rumors of your godhood have gained some credence. I see, and the second reason? The masked woman, in black, that helped you during the battle. I want to see her. Izanami, may I ask why? So the rumors were right. Have you seen what she looks like underneath? She's an Uchiha, isn't she? Pale skin, beautiful face. Kushina Uzumaki, Kazama said, his tone deepening, I owe this woman my life. If you, or Konoha, are seeking her to harm her, you will have to go through me. I hope you understand. The Uchiha clan wants her dead, or wanted, as they think she's dead. Me. She smiled sadly. I'm her friend, her only friend. The Amekage narrowed his eyes. Everybody has their secrets, he whispered. I can give her a message, if you wish. Tell her, Kushina bit her lower lip. Tell her, that I'm sorry for what happened, and, that I'm taking care of him. She can see me or him wherever she wants. She just has to contact me. I will give her your words. After that, the redhead turned to left. Naruto, she whispered. Good luck in your future. Good luck to you as well, he whispered, before raising his head. One last thing. Why Minato? Because when Kumo kidnapped me, he was the only one who noticed my absence and came to rescue me. He was the only one who cared enough about me to notice I wasn't there. Kushina replied, as she vanished from his sight. Returning to the dark corridor, the blonde decided to return to his office. Surely, he would be able to. Somebody clapped. Kazama's eyes moved toward its source. Madara was clapping cheerfully in the shadows. I heartily applaud your oath, he said. When we began our partnership, I was with a child, but it seems you have grown into an adult and I did not see it. Wonderful. There was something shameful in being praised by a bastard of Madara's caliber, so the blonde merely snorted. The past will be behind me soon enough. Then I will walk forward. Soon, the Uchiha Lord blinked. Does it imply you intend to return to Konoha? I never forget. I will judge, fairly, those who wronged me and others. Finishing with you. He locked eyes with Madara's lone Sharingan. I hope you understand. Understanding is not the same as appreciating, the man whispered with a hint of amusement before crossing his arms. Yet, you said you would respect atonement, and if I decided to atone for what I did to you, would you cease to seek my destruction? It actually made Kazama silent for a split second in amazement. You do not regret anything you've done. Actually, I do regret one thing. The man chuckled. I should have taken you with me after my battle with the Yondaime instead of leaving you to Konoha. I have an idea to make up for the 16 years of pain I inflicted indirectly upon you. The Uchiha Lord put his hands on Kazama's shoulders, in a gesture vaguely reminiscent of a hawk seizing its prey. By adopting you as my son, for example. The Amekage smirked. Didn't you have sons in the past? Madara's eye was soon full of bitterness. The sons of my blood were traitors, failures, and ultimately received the fate they deserved. They would have better fitted the Yondaime Hokage. You, on the other hand, you are promised to do great things. You might even surpass me. I will. It wasn't a mere boast. It might take decades, but the blonde would defeat Madara in the end. You kept trying to kill my friends, father. Only because you wouldn't listen to my offers, son, the criminal replied, with the same sarcastic tone. Now you have come around to my point of view, I see no reason to harm them. He released his grip on his student. Why not end our feud reasonably, like adults? If you truly want to enforce justice and order through the multiverse, you will need help. My help. I refuse to let your crimes go unpunished. Which crimes? The destruction of Wave, Zabuza's death, Amaterasu's doing, and he paid his debt with death. The death of Kabuto, turning Kakashi's students into paths of pain. Susanoo's doing, and to be honest, he has vanished. I haven't seen him in days. Kazama blinked. He abandoned you. Perhaps. Or maybe he's dead. I haven't been able to locate him, which worries me. Madara brushed off the subject with a shrug. The truth is, what am I guilty of? You violated Kakashi's mind. And awakened the true power of his Sharingan. A fair trade. Tsukiyomi chuckled. Honestly, what do I need to do to earn your trust? I helped you defeat Hanzo, and bring peace to this land, although I would gain nothing out of it. Would you give Susanoo's head on a platter, if I were to ask? No. The tone was absolute. Our opinions may differ, but I have been betrayed enough. I won't become a traitor. When you have a partnership with a comrade, to sell him out is the highest sin. If he betrays me first, however, my reaction will be different. I will not compromise on this principle, because to compromise on it is to abandon it. Truly, Tsukiyomi was a master manipulator. To think he turns my own words against me, and if I am to fight Susanoo, which side would you take? My own. Both and neither. The Uchiha Lord shrugged. I would enforce your ideas, beat both of you into submission, and end your feud through fear and what I think is justice. Kazama smirked. All right, we will see if we can resolve our feud as gentlemen. However, if you even try to harm my clan. If the mastermind cracked his neck. You are still evasive on how you intend to bring true justice through the multiverse. By creating my own hidden village. The hidden village of dimensions. For an instant, Madara seemed genuinely at loss of words. A hidden village. Whatever you want to call it. Kazama crossed his arms. The truth is, the multiverse is full of people with good intentions, but they're helpless, lonely, without support. I intend to remedy that, by creating some sort of haven. A place where these people wouldn't be alone anymore, where they could seek help or gain the strength to defend their ideals. I will create an order of true believers dedicated to creating a better world, in all worlds. I have been selfish, immature. No more. It is time I use the power granted to me for positive, grander purposes. This is ambitious. Tsukiyomi chuckled. AIM will be a good test for your skills as leader. Allow me, son, to offer you a gift for reaching adulthood. Madara twisted space, and a set of armor appeared out of nowhere, falling to the ground. The blonde examined it for a second. It looked like a cross between samurai armor and a demonic-looking costume. You want me to wear this? It's all white, how am I supposed to be stealthy with it? You are not. I did not bring this armor to make you stealthy, but to make you intimidating. White is the color of death, of bones. When your enemies see it, fear will overtake their hearts, and they will be more likely to flee than facing you head-on. Your fighting style is too destructive to be stealthy, and since you are a long-range fighter, threats will come in the form of long-range jutsu, projectiles, and hand-to-hand fighters who can close the gap between them and you. In the first case, you can counter fire with fire, and the armor will increase your chances of survival against the two other threats. Madara lifted the armor and gave it to his apprentice. It was quite heavy, but not unreasonable. This armor belonged to a samurai warlord from the clan era that I defeated in duel when I was leading the Uchiha clan. I restored it and added seals to prevent anyone from seeing what was underneath through the Byakugan, or other means. It explains why nobody managed to see past his mask, Kazama thought. He probably added the seals to it as well. It's to fit the god charade, I suppose. Exactly. As long as AIM will think you're a deity, their obedience will be absolute. Defying a warlord like Hanzo is risky, but to defy a god is sinful and likely to result in being struck by a lightning bolt. An armor would make you less human, and nobody would be able to say the person underneath is a human. People will never like you, but they will fear and obey their faceless, almighty overlord. AIM saw me without any armor, and Minato, Kushina, perhaps Jiraiya, know who I am. AIM saw a man-shaped god killing a Biju in an epic battle and tear the skies apart. With Nagato's little stunt, they think you can bring back the dead if you want. Only a fool would think you are not a god. They would simply say you decided to not wield your heavenly armor, and fought Hanzo without it because you didn't think him worthy of the honor. Your cultists will quickly find explanations, and when Konoha nins try to look past the metal and find they are unable to see what lies underneath, the rumors will grow and add further credits to your claims. The Uchiha shrugged. As for Konoha, their ambassador keeps repeating to everyone who will listen, you're a fallen star having descended upon earth to pass heaven's judgments upon men, and brought a dead missing nin, me, with you to serve as your vengeful champion. What can your parents say? That you're a man coming from an alternate universe, their future son-to-be. That sounds insane, doesn't it? Seeing things under that angle, but when I'm gone, an idea crossed his mind. Could you make a replica of this armor? Madara narrowed his Sharingan. Ah, smart move. You intend to give it to Konan. With the Rinnegan, she can pull off miracles. By wearing the armor, she could switch place with me and nobody would see through it. I would never have left. With a few seals to cover the eyes and change the voice. And if the armor and the Rinnegan are passed down, you would appear immortal. Intelligent. You are learning fast. Madara gave a bow of mock reverence. Your will shall be done, August Star. I would suggest you find a god to impersonate. It would be more intimidating to pretend being Susanoo the Storm Kami or the Shinigami than Kazama Arashi, at least at the moment. And he vanished, leaving the blonde alone with his new toy. Returning to his office and finding it deserted, Kazama sat and stared at his reflection in the white helmet. The face on the surface was his, yes, but it was hard to recognize it. He had lost his former winning smile, his expression had become stoic and his blue eyes had turned cold. I once dreamed of being the Yondaime Hokage, and I have become Madara instead. Somehow, it doesn't feel as horrifying as it sounds. You should take care of your appearance, Izanami's voice reached his ears. How she had entered the room without being noticed was troubling. Then again, she had Madara's powers. You are a tiger. When a woman looks at you, she sees the deadly grace and the beauty, the power and the aura of majesty. For a second, she is enamored, but then she sees your eyes, realizes your heart is hardened, and that you could kill her on the spot and you wouldn't even bat an eyelash. With your looks, you could be a lady killer, yet your facial expression drives them away, for you're a wolf in a land of lambs. I don't care, he said. Jiraiya had been a lady killer, and he wasn't a role model to take after. The tiger is the king of animals. I would better be feared as a deadly beast than loved as a harmless peacock. Izanami chuckled, and her fingers touched his shoulders. They were warm, and Kazama couldn't help but feel uneasy. Who said you can't be feared and loved? No one bothers trying to take a third option. He saw her smile in the white helm. You should keep your hair down. The spiky style isn't good at all. You told me you had an illness. He switched subject. The woman sighed, disappointed the attempt at small talk had failed. It is more akin to a curse induced by a jutsu. It is. No, it would be better if I were to show you. She went through him. Like Madara, she walked through his seat, his flesh, and stopped in front of him. The contact was akin to a ghostly chill, and Kazama refrained himself from shivering. Izanami had changed outfits, dropping her kimono for more casual clothes, composed of black pants and a white sweater. Kazama could have mistaken her for a beautiful civilian woman if he didn't know just how dangerous she was. The kunai in her left hand helped reveal her true nature. In a swift move, she slashed her right hand with it. The world wanderer watched disturbed as the dripping blood vanished before reaching the floor. The wound closed nearly instantly. She put the kunai in her pocket and smiled sadly. I returned to my original state, constantly. My wound's close. I never age. I can't give birth anymore. I'm unable to change. Which means you are immortal, the blonde pointed out, before noticing something wrong in her sentence. Anymore. Many would kill to be in your situation. Only fools, psychopaths, and Madara. Would you face the prospect of outliving all those you care about? She snapped, showing genuine anger. Would you like to stand young and fresh, as your closest friends wither and die? Seeing things from that perspective, Kazama was forced to agree. He had seen what Madara was behind his mask of a powerful mastermind, a bitter, lonely old man fueled by ancient grudges and wounds that never healed. The prospect of ending like him was obviously the source of the woman's anguish. You want me to make you normal? I admit not knowing how. Some of my friends might be able to help you, however. If you can travel through other universes, it's only a matter of time before I find a cure, she whispered, before sitting on his thighs. The Amekage was beginning to wonder if she had any sense of personal space. I am not ungrateful. For your services, I can offer you my help in fighting Madara.
No.
For a split second, Izanami seemed at loss of words. Did you say no? You heard me well. I have seen too many people die fighting him to see you gamble your life. Especially since he's perhaps one of the few people that might be able to kill you. He ignored her shocked expression. You saved me from the Sanbi and I will return the favor by giving you a cure to your condition, because helping those in need is a reward in itself. But I refuse to see anyone risking their life for me, against something I'm willing to offer for free. Izanami stared blankly at his face, before recovering. And if I told you I'm willing to fight at your side, simply because I like you? Kazama had no answer to that. She approached his lips with hers and kissed him. It was as surprising as it was short. Izanami quickly broke the contact, and laughed at the blonde's astonished face. It was your first kiss, isn't it? I wish this was the case. As humiliating as it had been, locking lips with Sasuke by accident counted as his first kiss. Why did you do it? Because underneath all that cynicism, you have a noble heart, and it would be a shame to see it turn to ice. I was observing the battle with the Sanbi for a long time, and I admit, I considered letting you die. After all, the way you talked, I thought you were sharing the masked bastard's ideas, but when the turtle threatened to destroy AIM, you stayed to defend it. You knew it was suicidal, but you didn't run. Madara would have either destroyed the town entirely or run to choose a better battleground. You had no one you liked to protect, nothing to gain and everything to lose, but you were willing to put your life on the line anyway for people you didn't know and weren't likely to thank you. That's what you are, Kazama. You try to deny it because it comes with a great personal cost, but you are altruistic. That's why you're different from your mentor, and that's why I came to help you. She shrugged. You aren't the first one Madara has puts his claws into. I know what it is like to live in fear, when you're forced to obey to protect those you love. It lasts until you're pushed too far, and when that happens, you realize you have become just as empty and warped as the one you struck down, and just as monstrous as you pretended to be. The woman crossed her arms. You're in charge of this country now. A dictator. Your mentor would like you to put your heel on everyone's back constantly to secure your power base, in which case, you wouldn't be better than him. AIM has only ever known tyrants, warlords, or worse, and lost all hopes for a better future. You can change that. You may be a despot, but you can be a benevolent one. Try remembering it. Don't become a new monster in your attempt to topple another. Benevolent despot. Kazama smiled. I will remember the lesson. His face turned serious. Kushina gave me a message for you. Izanami froze on place, confirming his suspicions. Yes, she asked, sounding fearful. She said she was sorry for what happened, and that she was taking care of him. She said you could go see them wherever you want, as long as you contact her. For a split second, Izanami's face bore the saddest expression Kazama had ever seen. She quickly corrected herself however and adopted a cheerful smile. It was fake so well the blonde almost thought it was genuine for a split second. I see. Can I do anything about it? He asked. You have your secrets and they belong to you, but if I can lend you a hand, I will. Thanks, but no, you can't do anything. With those words, she teleported away, leaving him alone with his thoughts. This world is full of misery, he told himself. Will I ever see a world where nobody's life has been fucked up? This world is flawed, the dark voice answered him. It needs to be fixed. Not by you. The thing was corrupting his thoughts, he was certain of it. The blonde said words he would never have said normally. Corrupting, or improving, no, it will be fixed by you. By me. I can still offer you power. My offer stands. It will always stand. Of course, there will be a price to pay. I will pass. Your cost is too high. If so, perhaps knowledge would be better. Kazama raised an eyebrow. Knowledge. I can teach you jutsu beyond your wildest dreams. Arts able to bind life itself to your will. And, what would be the price? The price of struggle. This knowledge is cheap. If you wish to learn greater knowledge forbidden to humans, the price will be paid with parts of you, be it life, blood, or sanity. What I offer you is a theory, not mastery. You will have to work for it. Why not? It will depend on the knowledge. I will gladly provide it. Slowly, Kazama started putting on the white armor, finishing with the helmet. It was heavy, yet flexible. He could fit into it with some time and training. In his armor, he looked like a fearsome monster. The white metal covered every inch of his body, turning him inhuman. The forearms, shins, shoulders and hands were equipped with small blades of refined steel. The helmet was equipped with a metal skull-shaped mask, leaving only the eyes exposed. The helmet's horns were small, and composed of silver. I am death embodied, he said, his voice becoming deeper through the iron protection. It seems I have to pretend being a god. Which one, I wonder? The Shinigami. Too overused, the dark voice whispered. Why not, Mikabashi? It is the kami of stars and night, a fearsome deity. Mikabashi.
It was a good name. Susanoo.
This Madara Uchiha was nothing like he imagined. Unlike any of the counterparts Susanoo met during his travels through the multiverse, this one hadn't been blessed by Mikabashi. His body hadn't turned to dust, and his soul hadn't been devoured by the darkness. It had been a good thing, since the Rinnegan user had been able to bring him back from the dead with Edo Tensei. Here he was, as young as when he fought Hashirama, wearing a crimson armor. His hair was a black mane, his eyes a set of swirling Sharingan. His stoic expression conveyed some thinly veiled surprise and astonishment, as he examined his counterpart's face. So this is it. You or me, what I could have been. I hope that shape was worth the cost. It was. Susanoo placed his mask back over his visage. Tell me, why can't I enforce the mental dominance I should have over you? Or why are you so young and fresh? The Red Madara chuckled, sitting in a chair. Susanoo had moved his hideout to an abandoned, hidden Uchiha fortress, built during the clan wars. His paths of pain had rebuilt the place from scratch with incredible efficiency. Before my apprentice killed me, I prepared measures to alter my summoning, should the Edo Tensei be used on my person. I was brought back in the body I had when I fought Hashirama for the last time, and although there is a link of chakra between us, you can neither control nor banish me. The wise man plans for the future. Which is why you took Izanami as apprentice. The man chuckled at the name. That's what she calls herself now. I find it ironic. I thought she had what it took to be a true Uchiha. I was mistaken, but unfortunately, she was a better student than I thought. She poisoned my meals, and had one of her summons tear me apart when I was agonizing on the ground. Susanoo chuckled. The woman had conveniently failed to mention this detail. What summon, may I ask? It was a praying mantis the size of an elephant. Female mantises kill the males of their species when they're hungry, angry, or during mating. It fits that woman well. She has a long history of killing men. As she didn't have the brute power of male Uchiha, I taught her how to be an assassin and use all her weapons. Fortunately, women have a very good one between their legs. Susanoo refrained a disgusted snort. The violent beating Mito Uzumaki had dished him back in the Valley of the End had taught him to respect and fear women. To have trained a woman this way, this Madara certainly didn't think the same. You taught her seduction. Seduction, swordsmanship, genjutsu, the Sharingan's powers, poisoning, summoning, Edo Tensei, strategy, the list goes on. Susanoo could only imagine. And Mikabashi, if she had some of its powers, it would end badly. The Kami of the stars. What does it have to do with us? Apparently, he was genuinely in the dark about the sinister god. It's just a story men invented to scare their kids at night. Obviously, he had never met the evil entity. Nothing. And about Izanami's undead god of shinobi. The temperature dropped slightly. It was one of my main projects before I died to find his tomb, the other Madara whispered. I suppose she completed my work after executing me. To be honest, I don't think he will stay under her control for long, once deployed. He created ninjutsu and although without his biju, he's strong enough to break free. What he will do after being freed, however. Still, she's a dangerous enemy all the same. Susanoo crossed his arms. How did you find her? I was keeping an eye on the members of my former clan, so I could give their position to enemy ninjas and have them exterminated. She was the wife of a prominent member of the group and their marriage was a notoriously unhappy one. It got worse after the birth of her son. I don't exactly know what happened, but one night, her husband was dead and she on the run. The Kyuubi's vessel was friends with her and covered her escape by beating the crap out of the entire Uchiha clan, but that woman was already stabbed and bleeding. In the end, she fell into a river, and I recovered her. She was dying, but her eyes, once our eyes crossed, I found hate echoing my own, and I liked it. So you healed her? No, I was too late and she died of her wounds. Susanoo immediately understood. Edo Tensei, he muttered. You used the Edo Tensei on her. It was how she could recover so fast from the wounds he inflicted on her. Not exactly. For all its powers, Edo Tensei has inherent weaknesses preventing it from being the true key to immortality. I spent decades trying to find ways to bring back others from the dead, to reach eternity. I healed the wounds of her dead body and used an experimental jutsu to bring back her soul. It cut her from this world. She will always stay how she is. She won't age. She will never know the ravage of time. Her wounds will vanish as soon as they are opened. She won't be able to bear a child again. Her heart is beating, her body is warm, she can feel pain and pleasure, and she is alive, and eternal. She was my greatest achievement. Not an undead, an undying. Apparently, the process gave her minor supernatural powers, like intangibility. How can you end this jutsu? I never bothered to devise a counter to immortality, in fear one might turn it against me once I had perfected the process. If we want to get rid of her, we will have to seal her under a rock or the like where she will spend eternity until the end of all things. The red Madara crossed his arms. Izanami is a fitting name, for she is the goddess of the dead, and reborn again. I am Izanagi, the creator, who will send her back into the hell that spawned her. Then, Izanagi, explain me how you came to blows with her. I tried to mold her into my apprentice. She was so talented, so devious. I thought she would finish the Moon's Eye plan. But quickly it became clear she would never be the successor I desired. She had the skills, but never got over her new life as an immortal exiled, away from her son and friends. In the end, I realized it was a loss of time, and focused on finding someone else. Her son had shown some potential and insecurities to exploit. I set my eyes on him. She discovered it, and reacted poorly. Parents tend to take risks for children they would never take for themselves. Susanoo snorted. What do you think she will do next? I have no idea, and I doubt she has any plan. She's probably running along with the flow of things and waiting to see how she can exploit the situation. If this Kazama Arashi is as young as you pretend, she will probably try to seduce him and turn him against you. She will bite off more than she can chew with that one. Susanoo had little doubt the World Wanderer was too dangerous to be controlled. It had taken him long to realize it, but it was obvious he was too powerful to be left alive. Do you know about the Child of the Prophecy? The legend how a man will start a revolution that will either be the world's salvation or damnation? Izanagi asked. The sage predicted his coming in the documentation that reached me. It's only a part of the prophecy. Susanoo intertwined his fingers. The chosen one will fight an all-powerful darkness as the final obstacle. If he wins, the revolution will start and bring endless peace to the world. If he fails, the darkness will end the world as we know it and inaugurate a dark age. He locked eyes with his counterpart. Kazama Arashi is the darkness we have been warned against. For a split second, Izanagi said nothing, before frowning. Do you have a proof of what you are saying? The Rinnegan showed me the source of his powers, the chakra of a god, sealed in his stomach. Susanoo had at first thought it was the result of Tsukiyomi's machinations, before realizing the power was noticeable long before the Uchiha Lord ever got his hands on him. He is a dark deity reborn in human form, growing stronger with each passing day. It had all become clear during the battle for aim. No follower of Mikabashi could ever open a black hole, only the deity itself could do this. Susanoo had realized he had been a pawn in the Star God's game, a pawn used to motivate the growth of its champion, a tool to be eliminated once no longer useful. He fits several traits of the darkness. A man pretending to bring about a world of truth, gathering followers to march in his name, spreading loss and chaos wherever he goes, turning an ally of the chosen one against him. The fact my counterpart never managed to convince him to join us, and is now firmly at his side, speaks for itself. If he's the darkness, then only the child of the prophecy will be able to defeat him, Izanagi stated. You suggest we find him? The chosen one is right in front of you. Izuna told it to him with his dying breath. Now, it was time to meet his fate. I will defeat him in battle and extract his godly chakra with the Rinnegan, before making it my own. And with this power, I will bring about the birth of a better world. Then why don't we go kill him in his sleep? Izanagi replied with skepticism. Because his followers are dispersed. When they are reunited, then we will destroy them all in one swoop, in a legendary battle. Susanoo smiled behind his mask. And we will prevail. You, me, and the 5 Cage Reborn.
Kitsune.
The temple's gates were purple and blue, surrounded with 2 golden statues. The air was pure, and there was no sound. Kitsune stopped in front of the doors of stone alone. He was only carrying Samahata and a bag containing his clothes. The fish creature purred and licked his fingers. Is there someone here? The blonde asked. Itachi-sama said you could help me. I know someone that may help you learn to control your transformations, the Godime had whispered. And maybe, teach you peace of the mind.
The doors opened.
Slowly, carefully, the kid entered, the gates closing behind him immediately. The grounds of the monasteries were made of earth, trees, and ponds. It was a peaceful garden, where monks in red and white robes were discussing, working, meditating, and in one case, playing shogi. Kitsune Arashi, a monk, welcomed him. He was a bald man with dark eyes, thick eyebrows, a serene face, and a black sash around his waist. He smiled kindly. I am enchanted to meet you. Itachi-san sent a messenger crow to inform me of your arrival. I am Chiriku, the head of this monastery, but please, consider me a mere first among equals. Allow me to give you a visit. Kitsune nodded, and Samahata left him to enter one of the ponds. Chiriku showed him the dormitories, the meditation sanctuaries, the statues of the gods, and the monastery's many rooms. You will have to shave your head, and trade your current clothes for monk robes. We believe in the virtues of dispossession and humility to reach true enlightenment. If needed, the blonde bit his lower lips. Chiriku-sama. Chiriku-san. All men are equals inside these walls. Chiriku-san, I have to inform you, Kitsune took his breath. I have a terrible curse I do not control. I know. Itachi-san informed me you transformed into a fox in the presence of his father and had to be restrained and sedated. The kid blushed in shame. We will teach you how to tame your bestial nature.
How?
By teaching you how to achieve true peace of mind. Chiriku brought him before a tree and handed him an apple. Are you hungry?
Yes.
Hungers for food and water is necessary to live, and natural. But there are others hungers, born of the mind, called desires, and they are the source of all misery. Desire for power, for material goods, for recognition, and in your case, desire for pain. Your pain. The monk narrowed his eye. I can see you carry a heavy burden, Kitsune Arashi. You are crumbling under the weight of your sins, and you see no escape but atoning through personal suffering. This is the wrong path to take, for suffering only brings more suffering. It is a spiral that won't solve anything. Kitsune took his breath, remembering the people he had killed under the voices, orders. I committed so many crimes I am beyond forgiveness. No one is beyond forgiveness, as long as one can feel regret. Regrets are consuming your heart, and if you have the will to atone for what you did, then the world will always give you a second chance. But self-punishment in itself is not the source of true repentance. We will show you the true way. Chiriku took another apple. The body is a mere vessel for the soul. The desire for women and possession is mental, and turns into physical lust as a result. If you reach peace of the mind, you will be able to be in harmony with your body and unlock its true potential. But for this to happen, you must forgive yourself and learn to be in harmony with the world that surrounds you. Chiriku bit the apple. The Uchiha way is one of conflict with the self, and not necessarily a bad path to embrace, but we monks do not believe in it, and obviously, you aren't meant to follow it. Itachi-san understood that, and this is why you were sent here. He locked eyes with the blonde. You left someone behind. It wasn't a question, and it would be lying. Kitsune hadn't hesitated a lot about leaving Naruto's side. She said she would wait for me, she's my friend, but she needed to train with Fugaku-sama. It was the only way to truly beat Madara, and they both knew it. Friendship is the truest, purest sentiment. We honor and cherish it. The fact you chose different paths does not mean eternal separation. It is my truest belief friends are always reunited, be it in this life or the next. Chiriku smiled. And I have the intuition you won't have to wait that long.
Naruto.
I see father did not go easy on you. The blonde girl snorted in anger. Her face was covered with bruises, and for maybe the first time in her life, she was tired as hell. As long as I can progress, she muttered. Fugaku was teaching her primarily taijutsu and ninjutsu, Makoto was taking care of her genjutsu lessons, and other Uchiha were taking turns at training her in various areas. Was it the same with you? No, it was easier, the prodigy conceded. This is an accelerated version of the program I went through myself. I am amazed you can still stand, to be honest. I have to stand. She had promised herself abandoning and complaining were out of question. It's the only way I can become strong. Without relying on Kurama, the girl added to herself. Fugaku had been quite blunt. He was astonished she had lasted this long. In his opinion, if she didn't have a powerful demon in her belly, she would have died a dozen times already. The blonde couldn't deny it, and the statement had given her the resolve to continue. Take a seat, the Uchiha Gadaime asked behind his desk. The office was quite plain, maybe a sign of the Uchiha's hate of luxury. Are you certain you do not know our visitor? No, she had visited that mysterious, comatose Uchiha in the hospital at Itachi's behest. The girl had been astonished another world wanderer had dropped by, and for a split second though her sensei had come for her, only to be sorely disappointed. This is most confusing, the Hokage stated, as the blonde sat. Perhaps was it an accident, but his wounds show he was trying to flee something, or someone. He crossed his arms. Until Tsunade comes and he awakens, the best we can do is be patient. The breach closed behind him and nobody managed to open it again. I thought Konoha was good with space-time ninjutsu. Good does not mean expert. The only person who can qualify is Jiraiya, one of the Sannin, and he is away for the moment. I contacted him through Messenger Crows and he affirmed he would be back within a few weeks at worst to investigate. He's currently too occupied with what's happening and aimed to be available. The Uchiha smiled. He was most interested in your case. In his mind, it might be the occasion to confirm the validity of some prophecies he has been told about. Prophecies. Naruto snorted. Fate does not exist. One of my archenemies keeps ranting about our destiny of death and tragedy, much to my annoyance. So far, I'm still alive. I believe in choices and free will as well, but Jiraiya's prophecies come from an elder toad, said to have the ability to see into the future. So far, his claims have been accurate, yet at no point has your coming been mentioned. Your presence might explain if the elder's visions are truly absolute or have flaws. It's something Jiraiya wants to test, and I didn't see any reason to reject his proposal. Itachi smiled. Kitsune arrived to the fire temple this morning. Naruto raised her head in interest. How is he? Fine. Chiraku tells me the monastery will be the sanctuary your friend was looking for, a place where he will learn peace of mind and spirit. I will be able to give you news on his progress, if you wish. Thank you, Itachi-sensei. Naruto bowed slightly in gratitude. I hope Kitsune will be fine. He deserves to be fine. One final thing, the Gadaime chuckled. I have heard you and my brother are starting to get along. Naruto shuddered. Itachi's brother had insisted to participate in some of her exercises, and they had quickly started a friendly rivalry over them. He and his team asked me if I wanted to hang out with them after my training time. Sasuke doesn't have many human contacts outside them and his family, Itachi whispered, before closing his eyes. He resents the absence of his older brother, so, maybe the presence of a little sister might be good for him. And for you, having a rival is good motivation. Itachi-sensei, she smiled. I refused to hang out with them. The Gadaime appraised her silently for a few seconds. The Kyuubi, he guessed. Yes, as long as until I'm certain I can't twist others' feelings anymore, I prefer staying alone. The euphemism left a bitter taste in her mouth. I do not need you to warn you on the dangers of isolation, Itachi whispered, closing his eyes. I admit liking being left to my thoughts sometimes, yet everyone needs company. You of all people should know the pain of loneliness. Naruto knew it more than anyone else in this entire town. Itachi-sensei, if I realized maybe some people are my friends not because they want to, but because I brainwash them. A part of her mind suggested. You get the picture. It's morally wrong, and it's not friendship. It's slavery. I don't want to inflict that on anyone. Perhaps Itachi himself was only helping her because she messed with his brain. She couldn't be sure. She didn't want to be sure. Naruto, let me tell you a story. Itachi took a breath. When I was a teen, working in the Anbu, I was one day captured by the enemy. Iwa Nin, to be precise. They wanted to exchange me for some of their comrades, imprisoned in Konoha. For days, they kept me starved and weak. And, after a time, I started sympathizing with my captors. Mother will tell you this is called the Morino syndrome, since it was Ibiki Morino who documented and examined the condition with his own victims. After a time, a prisoner starts empathizing with the captor, sees his actions as genuine affection, and comes around their point of view, even admiring him or falling in love. Madara and Orochimaru are fond of exploiting this condition to turn prisoners into loyal followers. This matched Kurama's situation. Many of my captors saw me as a mere tool, and messed with my mind, but one, however, started sympathizing with me. It was a man in his 30s, with brown hair and eyes. We talked, we shared stories, and he offered some food in secret. And one day, after weeks of imprisonment, he opened my cell, and told me to escape. He shrugged. He was called Reiki. I discovered his name when I found his body hung from a tree after his comrades found his treachery. He had his identification card in his pocket with the word traitor written on it. Itachi shrugged. It might have started as warped, but this was friendship. From what you told me about how you met Kazama, he more or less took you away from Konoha without possibility of return. Some would see this as abduction, even if he did it to save you. Yet, it seems there is no denying you share a strong bond. Some friendships start for all the wrong reasons, yet can turn genuine and stronger than many others. The Godime locked eyes with her. The danger of your power is that you cannot control it yet. If used well, it won't be a tool for control, but a way to reach a deeper understanding with someone else, and gives greater strength to your friendship. The true danger is if you do not care about the other person and are merely using him as a thrall to feed your ego. It feels good, to have power over someone, to see them look at you in awe and worship. This is a temptation that will always plague you, but if you're strong, you will overcome it. I'm not ready. She took her breath. Until I find someone that can show me how to restrain and control this ability, I prefer staying away from others and focusing on my training. And when I am reunited with my family, I won't be a dead weight to them, ever again.
Haku.
It's finished, Fukuro stated, upon presenting his newest machine to the group, sitting around a round table in one of the base's rooms. I present you, the World Probe. The name is cliché, Chibaku stated. And no offense, it looks like a robotic pepper shaker. Haku was forced to agree. The object was a gray and black metal cone, with a round black camera as head. A device called reactor was implanted under it. This is supposed to find the feral Gale and his allies. Your skepticism hurts me, the scientist pouted. It won't find them, but it will reopen and use the thin portal you used to cross the gap between our multiverse and their own, and then releases a signal they should be able to locate. The probe contains a recorded holographic message explaining them the situation. They told you they couldn't help you. In your feud with Madara, Kubaiko began, due to them being foreign deities, am I right? Both Chibaku and Haku nodded. I doubt they will be able to help personally, but who knows, they might have info that could help us locate Kazama, or they might have a way to evacuate the populations threatened by our multiverse's collapse. At this point, any help is welcome. Another earthquake shook the building. Must be the cannon Sasori and Omoikane are working on, Chibaku commented. Yesterday, it was the kunai launcher. The explosive kunai launcher. I've seen the new bodies she's designing, Kubaiko shuddered. I think we will have to redefine what a weapon of mass destruction is after you try them. I'm not even used to this one, Chibaku whined, before chuckling. When we're going to see Madara again, boy, I'm so going to try the death ray on his ass. Learn to aim first, the former Nadaime Hokage suggested. You might kill an ally by accident, or alter the landscape. Vajra designed the weapon for mining purposes. It's a pity he isn't there to teach you how to handle it. Speaking of him, Haku interrupted, did you find anything? You visited the world where he lost contact with you. Kubaiko's face darkened. No, it would be better if I show you. He searched under his pockets and presented a few photos. I took them all around the continent. His student took them, and paled. Ashes. Plains of ashes. Dead mountains devoid of life. Dark skies, covered with smoke. Remains of forests burning. Ruins of, shattered and melted. It was a vision of death. What happened? Chibaku asked, upon staring at the photos. A cataclysm. A volcanic eruption. An artificial cataclysm, Kubaiko stated. I examined the place and it wasn't a volcano. Volcanic ashes are pulverized rock, not soot and burned material. This was more akin to the results of flamethrower rampage. I cannot explain how it happened, but something burned the entire continent from above and reduced it to ashes. Whatever it was, it killed everything on the planet. Humans, animals, plants, it will take decades for it to become habitable again. Who could do that? Haku paled at the implications. And why would anyone want to do that? I am as confused as you, Kubaiko said, and the fact I found nothing left of Vajra means two things. Either he was killed in the cataclysm, in which case, I should have located his remains, or whatever behind it found him first. This world contains unstable breaches, so, it's possible the responsible party might have come from an alternate universe, and retreated once its work was done.
Silence followed.
I said we needed any help possible for a reason, Kubaiko stated. Because I have the feeling that if we don't get help, there won't be any worlds left to save.
Yugito Niseben.
You owe our clan 3 lives, Kakashi Hatake. Yugito glared at the talking hound. If I understand the situation correctly, you tried to kill him first, the Kumo Nin pointed out. Both your employer and the dogs chosen to fight with him are dead. Can't we make peace? The creature glared at her. It was a large black Doberman the size of a horse, with vicious red eyes and yellow fangs. The fact he was wearing a silver collar nearly identical to the one having belonged to Kenta's big summon was worrying. A contract involving one of us binds the clan as a whole, it explained with a raspy voice, sitting on the ground. If it felt threatened by the presence of 3 S-ranked ninjas, it hid it well. My clan is honor-bound to fulfill Kenta's contract, and take revenge for the death of 3 of our warriors. 2 had only gotten their first blood, and 1 was a seasoned warrior and a servant hound of Inagami, the dog god. By killing them, you have tainted our honor and reputation. Our clan demands blood as reparation. Yours. Drop it, kitten, it's a dog, and as such, stupid. Just kill it. Yugito sighed. The trio had been informed by the Yondaime's clone the original was ready to try the Nadime's jutsu, and they had left to meet him with travel bags on their back, until this dog had intercepted them. However, our clan head wants to avoid a blood feud if possible, the dog emissary explained. He consulted the temple of Inagami. In his wisdom, the great priest answered if Inagami chose to let you kill these warriors, then they weren't worthy of serving under the dog god's banner and the only thing he could give them was a glorious death by battle. If you swear an oath not to harm any of us ever again, Inagami will forgive your acts and my clan will drop any idea of vendetta against your family. I swear never to harm any dog, on my father's sword and Inagami, Kakashi promised, before putting the blade back in its sheath. As a follower of Inagami, I am a witness to the oath, the creature recited. A golden collar appeared in a puff of smoke. Wear this symbol of Inagami around your arm, and no dog shall seek to harm you. If you break your oath, the dog god will punish you. The hound nodded, and vanished into smoke. Farewell, Hatake. May we never cross path again. Why do I have the feeling this collar will be more trouble than it is worth? May wondered out loud. As long as it prevents a feud with a dog clan, Kakashi snorted upon picking up the object and fitting it around his arm. An eye for an eye leaves the entire world blind, Sensei told me once. But what if you're blind before someone takes revenge on you? Ignoring her Biju's stupid comment, Yugito continued walking through the Land of Fire's forest. Are you certain we aren't lost? I don't remember seeing a town on the maps. Certain. It's a training ground my team used before the war erupted. They reached a river. Here it is. Indeed, the Yondaime Hokage was waiting for them, drawing seals on the muddy ground with black ashes. 2 toads were watching over his work, 1 male and a female, yet both elderly. Good morning, he said upon noticing them. We were waiting for you. For too long, the female toad complained. We're going to miss breakfast. Don't worry, Shima, I'm sure Minato-kun will offer it, the male toad replied. Of course, Fukasaku Dono. Sasuke and Naruto will be very happy to listen to one of your stories. The blonde faced the trio. I present you the two best toad seal masters of Mount Myoboku. Fukasaku, Shima, they are the people I told you about. Enchanted, the animal couple nodded politely. They helped me improve the Nadime's technique, the Yondaime explained. I needed to be present in person to oversee the ritual, and here I am. Makoto, Sasuke and Naruto send you their regards. Please return our own then, Kakashi replied. How are they doing? Pretty good. Sasuke is very depressed about his brother's death, but Naruto's company helps him deal with it. Makoto has taken upon herself to occupy their minds through activities so they don't brood too much in a corner. His eyes narrowed. Yugito-san, the masked man has been seen with Kakuzu. She blinked. So they were accomplices. Possibly. We interrogated the owner of a bounty station, and he told us Kakuzu left it with two unidentified men, one matching your description of the fox man. Afterward, we unfortunately lost their trail. It was if they had just vanished. The Inuzuka themselves are clueless about the situation. Minato sighed. Danzo suggests they may be survivors from Akatsuki, trying to reform the group. You should inform Zabuza-sama, Mei suggested. Many of our missing nin were associated with Akatsuki, and part of our Anbu stayed loyal to Madara until the bitter end. It's possible our purge hasn't been as thorough as we hoped, and one or two members stayed in contact with Kakuzu. I will take the advice to heart. Yugito decided to switch subject. And Makoto-san, I never got the occasion to thank her for saving our lives. I will convey the message. Makoto, the Yondaime smiled. Maybe is it time to consider a second marriage? We thought about it for a long time, and, I believe Sasuke joining my family officially would do good for both him and my own son. It is time we leave the past behind and focus on the future. A wise choice, Mei commented, before sighing. Marriage, why is it that everyone but me is married, or used to be? Even the frogs. Technically, frogs and toads are a different species, Fukasaku pointed out. I'm not, Yugito replied to the Kiri nin, and I'm happy this way. She nodded at the Yondaime. I wish you and Makoto a long happy life. Sensei, be strong. Kakashi shook hands with his former teacher. You deserve to enjoy your life. I know it's not always easy, but, one mustn't see the bottle half empty, but the bottle half full. We might take a beating from the world, but we can improve our existence and gain a happy ending with enough efforts. Minato Namikaze smiled from ear to ear. I will remember, Kakashi, and please, promise me you will be fine. I tend to fall in harm's way, so I will pass on that promise, the Junin chuckled. Anyway, the Yondaime shrugged, doing his hardest to hide his worries and failing. This place is rich in natural energy, which should power the Nadime's jutsu sufficiently for 3 people. He tossed them each a kunai. They contain the formula of the jutsu, in case you need to use it again. Each of you, take the other's hand and make a circle inside the array. After putting the kunai in their pockets and travel bags, the trio obeyed, each joining hand with another and adopting a triangle formation. The Hokage crossed fingers. This way, none of you shall be lost during the travel. I must warn you, the journey's time will be longer than Kazama's own technique. Madara's transportation lasted longer than yours, but this method doesn't have a breach to exploit. As such, what will look like a second to you might be akin to days elsewhere. As long as we reach the destination, Mei shrugged. Farewell then, the Yondaime made a hand sign. Farewell, my friends.
In a flash of light, they were gone.
In another universe. Far, far away. Once Kakuzu stepped out of the portal of light, he wondered why he had accepted those weirdos' offer. Not for a lot of money. Oh yeah, for a shitload of money. He stared around himself. It was some sort of director office, composed of 3 walls, a door, and a large window of glass. There was a black desk, plants, and 4 people waiting for them. One was a blond man sitting behind the desk, observing him with a friendly grin. The bounty hunter instantly recognized one of his old comrades from Akatsuki, the annoying Deidara. The 3 others were standing, and appeared to be siblings. One was a Miko, the other was a woman wearing black leather, and the third was a little kid wearing a jester outfit. He was a carbon copy of the Nine Tails container, Naruto Uzumaki. For a split second, Kakuzu felt uneasy upon seeing the frightening, insane grin over his face. He had seen looks like that before, and they normally led to unpleasant things. Usually ones that couldn't be exploited for a profit. His 2 companions stepped outside the portal of light, which promptly vanished. "Hey, Deidara-san, the rings are working perfectly," Toby said with a cheerful voice. "I didn't have to waste any chakra." "Me neither," the bomber chuckled. "I'm afraid we won't be able to make more than 10 of them, at least, according to the warlord. The relays will prove to be more efficient and useful to meet our goals." Kakuzu had no idea they were talking about, and decided to go to the point. "You want to form a brand new Akatsuki with people from other worlds?" Deidara smirked at him. "I see you were briefed on the situation. To be honest, I thought you would be a bit more skeptical. I crossed path with 2 Kakashi Hatake at the same time, and they were of flesh and blood. Didn't take me long to add 2 and 2 together, and to be honest, when you have lived as long as I do, nothing surprises you anymore." The summoning of Jashin had taken the crown of all the bizarre events Kakuzu had went through in his long existence, and he was only stunned for a few seconds from that event. "Since you spoke of 10 rings, I assume you're recruiting?" The jester laughed. "You think they would give so much power to a newcomer? Nah, all the rings have been distributed already. We are an association of 10 warlords, dictators, terrorists, ninjas, and power brokers. All of us are united under a common motto, to spread our influence through all universes by uniting our resources." Deidara chuckled. "We are a multiversal cooperative. Mind you, none of us share the same life philosophy, ideals, and goals. However, the worlds are numerous, and the opposition strong. Why bother fighting, when we can share the infinite? As long as the other's business doesn't interfere with ours, everybody is happy." The bomber crossed his fingers. "Katsu. Forgive me, we forgot to introduce ourselves. I'm Deidara, the boy is my loyal brother-in-arms Naruto, and the women are our newest friends, Alpha and 3. They both met other world wanderers, who wronged them, and they will be happy to help us against soldiers to retake their home." "I'm Menma," the man with the fox mask whispered. "My partner is Toby, and the man here is Kakuzu, a bounty hunter that caught my eyes. As you have heard, at least 1 Kakashi Hatake crossed the barrier between worlds. The portals are getting bigger and more numerous. My, this is interesting. We will have to discuss it in our newest meeting." Deidara turned around and watched through the large windows. It was raining outside, and Kakuzu realized they were inside a city. Most of the buildings were black, rectangular towers. Must be AIM, the hunter thought. The problem with us is, we are in a real need of manpower. We seek to recruit people with attitudes and skills. Of course, you will be handsomely rewarded for your services. Thanks, but I have been in Akatsuki and it didn't work out, the bounty hunter replied. Conquest is overdone and too costly to last long. That, and I prefer to be free of how I handle my kills. You would be surprised by how effective we are at conquest. Although, to be honest, not all of us are interested in world domination. The goals go from securing knowledge to killing as many people as possible. As for your work, we don't micromanage. As long as you complete an assignment, we won't force on you any partner, or anything of the sort. So, Menma whispered, are you in? As long as I get paid, Kakuzu shrugged. Alright, as long as I can work alone, I'm fine with a contract. A contract I will write. And put many loopholes in it. I guess we can start the meeting now. Toby touched his ring. An instant later, 6 dark shades manifested in the room, reminding Kakuzu of Akatsuki's holographic meetings. The shadows lacked colors, but the bounty hunter could vaguely distinguish the shapes, and see the rings around their fingers. Fu, you gathered quite the interesting soldiers. It was a teen's body, and the eyes had the shape of the Sharingan, but Kakuzu would have to be deaf to mistake that voice. His ring was placed on the left hand's middle finger, with the kanji, lightning. I recognize Kakuzu-kun, and the women of my apprentice's face. Are they related? Nice bodies. The shade wasn't human. It was a mass of tentacles surrounding a humanoid body. The ring was placed on the left hand's thumb, and had the kanji, would. You don't mind if I take one as my own, meat bags. I never possessed a blonde before. You were supposed to take over this Vajra's body, Zetsu-san, and exploit his memories, a man whose face was hidden under a snake hood whispered. The ring of earth was placed on his right hand's index finger. I assume you failed. He wasn't human enough. Too much steel in his system. The creature hissed. Regardless, we will find out what he knows soon enough. The warlord can be persuasive. Not so much as me, a woman whispered with a playful grin. She had the ring of fire on her right hand's thumb. You should have given him to me instead. I don't see how torturing an old man will give us the answers we are seeking, another woman, whose very face was covered with a mask and hood, shot back. On her right hand's little finger, she was wielding the ring of metal. When you break them too hard, the poor wretches start saying anything that comes to their mind to have the pain stop. This is distasteful. Who said anything about torture? The other woman chuckled. You can be convincing without being nasty. Diplomacy works, sometimes. I disagree on the last statement. The last shade cut in, and Kakuzu recognized Mei Terumi's voice. She had the ring of water on her right hand's index finger. However, I agree on this Vajra's situation. What do we know? His name and the fact he isn't alone. The more he stays in the warlord's hands, the less likely he is to survive. Excuse me for the interruption, Alpha said, drawing everyone's attention on her. I see only 9 of you. Is the absent member this, warlord? The temperature dropped heavily, and Kakuzu quickly understood the final member wasn't someone really appreciated. He's the founder of our organization, and easily the strongest, but he is a Videra struggled to finish his sentence. Hyper-pyromaniac. The survival rate of anything in the warlord's vicinity tends to drop to 0. Toby bit his lips uneasily while speaking in a more mature tone. Trust me, you don't want to be in the same room as him. He's fucking insane. Truly, I try to be good company. The words were polite, but the mocking tone indicated there was no meaning behind them. Kakuzu focused on the new shade, which manifested next to the others. The shape was that of an adult, with the ring of sun around his left hand's ring finger. Misters, Mrs., the man whispered, his eyes radiating with cold hate, welcome to Tikoku. I was told you met dimensional travelers. Would you kindly give me the details?
Omake.
Madara Rangers. Well, since we're 5, it's morphing time. Tsukiyomi shouted. Mighty Morbid Madara Rangers. Ranger Red. Ranger Blue. Susanoo shouted. Ranger Yellow. Izanami added. Ranger Black. Izanagi snorted. Ranger. Amaterasu stopped dead on tracks. Wait, if all the colors are taken, then this means, he jumped in place. Why the fuck do I get to be the Pink Ranger? It's not my fault if you have the name of a goddess, Tsukiyomi snorted. Blame the writer.
This is outrageous.
Kazama silently observed the scene, face-palming in shame. This is getting more ridiculous with each new omake. I'll take a leaving, cuz everyone is stupid. Oh come on, join us. Susanoo stated. There is always a 6th ranger joining mid-season. Kazama watched him, realized he cared for his personal dignity, and came to a decision. I wonder if the bad guys are looking for teenagers with attitude.